All right. Hello, hello. Back to art. Woo woo. Let's finally finish this thing, yeah?
the self dissolve into emptiness, or does it cross portals beyond human comprehension? Welcome, soul traveler, to the mystery of mysteries. Today we dive into one of the most profound and enigmatic texts of Tibetan Buddhism, the Bardo Thodol, more widely known in the West as the Tibetan Book of the Dead. Imagine a guide that accompanies you through the deepest and most mysterious
Zoom.
This is the role of the Bardo Thodol. And no, this is not just a simple manual on the end of life. It is a map, a spiritual guide for what happens right after physical death. Get ready, for together we will cross this portal, unravel its messages, and perhaps come to understand a bit more about what it means to exist. The Bardo Thodol was created by Padmasambhava, a legendary and almost mythical figure in Tibetan Buddhism. Born in India, he is widely recognized as the one responsible for bringing Buddhism to Tibet in the 8th century. Tibetan tradition reveres him as the Guru Rinpoche, which means precious master. But Padmasambhava was not just a monk. He was a deeply profound spiritual master, a yogi who mastered mystical techniques and esoteric teachings. The Bardo Thodol was born out of this master's desire to guide not only the living, but also the dead, offering them a path to liberation, even after the last breath. From a young age, Padmasambhava displayed extraordinary mystical abilities, being recognized as a Mahasiddha, a figure who has attained an extreme level of spiritual realization, developing spiritual powers, or siddhis, considered miraculous. He was invited to Tibet by King Trisong Detsen, who sought to expand Buddhism and strengthen the country spiritually, unifying the people under a single belief system. At that time, Tibet was a place of intense shamanic practices and animist beliefs, strongly rooted in the Bon religion, the indigenous Tibetan spiritual practice. This diverse and even chaotic spiritual atmosphere presented challenges to the spread of Buddhism. Upon arriving in Tibet, Padmasambhava faced resistance from various cultural and spiritual forces. The local deities and spirits of Bon traditions resisted Buddhism, and Padmasambhava used his knowledge of magic and tantric ritualism to tame these spirits. This integration of Bon deities and practices into Tibetan Buddhism was crucial to establishing a lasting spiritual foundation. Thus, Padmasambhava founded Tibet's first Buddhist monastery, the Samyi Monastery, and began to transmit profound teachings about the mind, reality, and the cycle of existence known as samsara. In Tibetan Buddhism, there is an understanding that death is not the end, but a transitional state, a moment of opening to the possibility of spiritual liberation. Padmasambhava understood that, at the moment of death, the mind enters a special state, where free from the distractions of the physical body, it becomes more receptive to the ultimate truth. He realized that this was a unique opportunity for liberation, but he also knew that most people, when they die, are lost in illusions and fears that keep them from this possibility. His mission was to create a guide that could be recited by those accompanying the dying, or even studied in life, so that the mind would be prepared for the bardos, the transitional states after death. In essence, he wanted to ease suffering and open doors to enlightenment, even when everything seems uncertain and dissolving. This compassion is the foundation of the Bardo Thodol. He also knew that many might not achieve enlightenment in life, but he saw in death a last opportunity. and so he offered instructions for practitioners and disciples to recognize the clear light, the pure manifestation of the mind, at the moment of their passing. The Bardo Thodol guides us through three main states, or bardos, that every soul traverses. The Chikai Bardo, the moment of death. In the Chikai Bardo, the soul experiences the moment of death itself, a point of transition where the physical body dissolves and consciousness is freed from its material limitations. Once the dissolution is complete, the soul finds itself before the primordial clear light, described in the Bardo Thodol as a dazzling, pure, and immense light. The clear light is the manifestation of the absolute nature of the mind, a state of pure, unconditional consciousness where there is no duality, fear, or attachment. Some know it as the higher self, others as the solar mind. There are many names for this state of totality and infinite peace. For the spiritual practitioner, the Chikai Bardo offers the possibility of final liberation. If the soul can recognize the clear light as part of its essence, it attains instant liberation, nirvana, and there is no need to pass through the other stages of the bardos. This recognition does not depend on rituals or doctrines. It is a direct and complete experience of the truth, where the mind sees itself without filters or distortions. In this moment, all conditioning, karma, and identities dissolve. On the other hand, for those who are unprepared, the intensity of the clear light can be terrifying. The mind, instead of recognizing the light as its true nature, may interpret it as a threat due to fear or attachment to what is familiar. In this case, the soul retreats, losing the chance for liberation, and enters the next stages of the bardos, where it faces increasingly distorted and limiting visions, according to its karmic tendencies. 2. The Chonyit Bardo, the Bardo of Visions. As Carl Gustav Jung once said, gods and demons are projections of the unconscious, powerful and inescapable until understood as parts of ourselves. In the Chonyit Bardo, the soul finds itself in a state of consciousness stripped of its physical body and within a dimension where tangible boundaries no longer exist. Here, the soul experiences projections of its own mind, projections that can appear in both angelic forms and disturbing, frightening visions. This bardo reveals the mind's essence, where all that has been repressed, desired, or feared emerges in an intensified form. The visions in the Chonyit Bardo directly reflect the emotional and karmic states accumulated by the soul over lifetimes. They manifest in two distinct forms, peaceful visions and wrathful visions. In the peaceful vision stage, the soul is initially greeted by visions of peaceful deities, which represent enlightened and benevolent aspects of consciousness. These figures may appear as Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, or deities of light, emanating the positive qualities cultivated by the soul. The peaceful visions possess a serene presence and offer a sense of peace. However, for the unprepared mind, these visions may be overwhelming or incomprehensible, leading the soul to retreat and doubt the reality of this experience. In the wrathful vision stage, if the soul does not recognize the peaceful, essential nature of the initial visions, it is gradually confronted by more intense visions, known as the wrathful deities. These figures are manifestations of anger, fear, and repressed desires, taking on monstrous and unsettling forms. Importantly, these wrathful deities are not external or malevolent entities, but expressions of the mind itself, reflecting the passions and attachments that still still bind the soul to the cycle of suffering. The Chonyid Bardo is described as a state where the mind is free from physical limitations. It is a pure state of psychic manifestation where everything is amplified. The visions that arise resemble dreams, but unlike ordinary dreams, they carry a striking clarity and vividness. This occurs because the mind, now free from the body, experiences its internal energies in an unfiltered way. Everything that was repressed and accumulated emerges with an almost tangible intensity. These visions are considered opportunities for learning and enlightenment, as each one represents an aspect of the self that needs integration or transcendence. Those who maintain full awareness during this bardo can perceive that all these visions, good and bad, peaceful and wrathful, are mere creations of the mind. The recognition of this truth enables the soul to dissolve fear and attain liberation. At this stage, the Bardo Thodol advises the soul to focus on the clear light, the primordial essence of the mind, described as a vast and pure radiance. Recognizing the clear light is the key to total liberation, as it represents the innate nature of all beings. It is the sun amidst the clouds of visions, the light that remains unchanged despite all mental projections. If the soul manages to see through the visions, it can achieve enlightenment and thus transcend the cycle of rebirth. However, recognizing the clear light is not easy for the common mind. For most beings, the visions are so real and filled with personal meaning that it becomes challenging to see beyond them. For this reason, the Bardo Thodol suggests that spiritual practitioners train in life to detach from illusions and contemplate the nature of the mind. With such practice, even when faced with the intense visions of the Chonyid Bardo, they will be able to maintain their focus on the clear light and find peace. Fear and attachment are the greatest barriers to liberation. The visions, in their intensity, can provoke deep fear, especially the wrathful deities, which represent untamed aspects of the psyche. This fear creates a sense of separation, preventing the soul from recognizing the visions as parts of itself. The soul may desire to flee from these visions or, out of attachment, fixate on some of them, especially the peaceful visions, which keeps it bound to the cycle of samsara. To overcome this cycle, the soul must recognize the visions as empty of their own reality. In Tibetan Buddhism, this concept is known as shunyata, or emptiness. The mind that recalls emptiness during the Chonyid Bardo can observe all visions but remains unattached, understanding them as mere temporary expressions of its own nature. The experience of the Chonyid Bardo, therefore, is not a punishment or purposeless suffering, but a phase of revelation where the soul confronts the mirror of its own mind. It is a test that distinguishes those ready for liberation from those who still require rebirth to deepen their learning. 3. The Sidpa Bardo, Rebirth. In the Sidpa Bardo, the final stage, the soul faces a crucial moment, the choice of its next body, determined by the accumulated energy of all actions, thoughts, and intentions, what we call karma. It is as if the entire previous journey has led to this point, where what we carry within determines our next destination. Entering this bardo, the soul has already experienced dissolution in the Chikai Bardo and faced its own projections and illusions in the Chonyid Bardo. Now it finds itself in a state of greater psychic density, where the desire for rebirth intensifies, driven by fears and attachments that have not yet been overcome. This desire, as Tibetan Buddhism teaches, is what compels the soul to seek a new body, a new form of existence. In the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness is influenced by karmic inclinations, which act as subtle marks left by actions from past lives. These marks function as magnetic forces, drawing the soul towards circumstances and experiences that mirror its inner state. If, for example, the soul carries a great deal of fear, that fear might guide it toward a rebirth, where it will face those same emotions. Similarly, intense desires and uncontrolled emotions create a vortex of energy that shapes the kind of life the soul will encounter in the next cycle. During the Sidpa Bardo, the soul experiences a series of visions associated with the rebirth process. These visions often include images of couples in union, a metaphor for the creation of new life. Here, the soul is called to choose a new body, unconsciously guided by emotional tendencies and karmic impulses. In many descriptions, the Bardo Thodol suggests that upon seeing these images, the soul should maintain a state of detachment.
Hey, show me art. How's it going?
Can it avoid being blindly driven?
I know I missed.
For those
think
who
it
can
was
sustain calm
that
and
one.
detachment, the Sidpa Bardo offers
That one right there.
chance for transcendence.
Oh, that one too.
Remains the possibility of not being reborn, of choosing the path of liberation. This is the goal of the spiritual practitioner, rather than being reborn under the sway of illusions and attachments. They must
Which one? Which one did I miss?
of their own mind and empty in nature. Throughout the experiences of the Sidpa Bardo, consciousness feels a strong attraction to the new body, a process that
But how's it going?
can be compared to a
I
cycle.
like the
It is as if the
beginnings of your new the dog piece.
The choice of a new body is not a
Excited to see how that one turns out.
through a deep instinctive call, where the characteristics of the new rebirth
Has there been more progress on the dog?
is as if the next body were a mirror.
Just woke up from your old man nap. Nice, very nice.
This process
Gotta take the old man naps.
Buddhist belief that each rebirth is an opportunity for spiritual growth. The body the soul will choose aligns most closely with its karmic and spiritual development. However, many do not understand this opportunity and end up being reborn in adverse conditions, where suffering perpetuates itself. Those who can see beyond this illusion, however, may reach a state where, instead of rebirth, they can merge into the clear light, the ultimate essence of the mind. According to the Bardo Thoda, preparation for this final stage begins in life. By contemplating the nature of Bardo desires and fears while still
You woke up scream yelling, slow down, punk.
that shape your destiny. Spiritual practices, such as
God dang punks.
reflection on death, strengthen the capacity
God dang punks going around all quick and scooting around.
the Sidpa Bardo. Thus, the Sidpa Bardo reveals a simple yet profound truth, that life and death are interconnected, and that the cycle of rebirth is nothing more than a continuous expression of our own choices and perceptions. By freeing ourselves from attachments, we free ourselves from the cycle of rebirth and reach enlightenment, the state in which there is no more rebirth, for there is is no longer the illusion of a fixed identity.
I don't know if I've ever
Is not just
awoken from sleep while
esoteric beliefs,
saying something.
self-knowledge, a mirror for our mind, and a map for our destiny. It teaches us that death is
I don't think I've ever experienced that.
but it is also the portal to new beginnings. As Ram Dass once said, when you die,
Or if I have, I don't remember it happening.
how much did you love? In this sense, the Tibetan Book of the
The kid of my dream yelled back and screamed, "Where Park's not even driving, old man."
Are we prepared to let go of everything we believe we are? Perhaps by contemplating these teachings, we can not only prepare
Well, you can't even fathom the speeds at which the planet Earth is hurtling through empty space.
with you, share this video,
We
and
need to slow it down.
let us know in the comments what intrigues you most about life after death.
We're all going way too fast.
Knowledge is long, and together we can explore the greatest mysteries of existence. Thank you for watching.
Gotta bring this thing out. Wouldn't it be nice if paper just laid perfectly flat all the time? No. It's gotta bow up all the time. Especially as you adhere more mediums to it. That's what I told her. I was talking about the speed of the planet itself. It is also kind of crazy to think about how insanely fast the planet is traveling through space. Right now, as I'm streaming on Twitch, and a couple of others are tuned in. They're traveling thousands upon thousands of miles an hour through a empty vacuum, and we can't even really perceive it, or we can't sense it. Whoa, man, trippy thoughts. I'll be back. Let's put my teeth in and go get something to eat. Alrighty. Make sure to use some good adhesive with those dentures.
You're on the air, Coast to Coast AM with Art Bell. Hi.
Hi, Art.
Hello.
This is Gene from Gloride, Arizona.
Yes, Gene.
Pleasure to talk to you again.
And to you. What's up?
Well, I sent you an email and had some stories I wanted to share with you, and I don't tell very many people these stories because I just freak people out when I tell them.
Try me.
Well, this all started, I'm a fireman, I'm retired. I'm also a sound mind, believe me.
Another fireman, all right.
Another fireman. And back in my rookie career, I'd worked an accident where we had to transport a guy about 40 miles to the closest hospital. And he'd been in a single-car rollover, and he had coded on us. So I did CPR on him for 40 minutes in the back of the ambulance.
Oh.
Got him into the hospital, and I was exhausted. I mean, it just...
Yeah, I was about to say, 40 minutes of CPR is exhausting.
It is. It's a rough deal. So the hospital crew's working him, and I'm leaned up against the wall in the ER, and I kind of saw somebody out of the corner of my eye. I looked, and there's a guy standing next to me, and he goes, "I wish they'd just leave me alone."
What?
And I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "I just wish they would just let me go."
Oh, my God.
And the doctor that was working, he looked at me, and you can just tell he saw the same thing. And that's when he called the code. He says, "That's it. We can't do any more." And I was freaked out. There was a physician assistant there.
Did the two of you discuss this? How could you not?
Yes, we did. And I am just spooked. I'm like ready just to hit the ceiling. I didn't know what to think. Because the guy was wearing the same clothes.
What was it? Let me ask this. The man that you saw, was that the man you worked on?
Yeah, it was him.
Did he look in any way less than fully visibly human? Was there anything ghostly about him?
No, not at all.
No.
He looked just like anybody else, and the clue was he was a big guy. He was over 6 feet, very obese. The clothes, he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt and white pants and sandals. And I mean, I put two and two together, and the doc and I went up to the cafeteria. This is 2 o'clock in the morning, And he told me he sees people all the time, too.
My God, if that happened to me, I'd be the one needing CPR.
Absolutely. And I was so freaked out. I left there, and I didn't even bother cleaning myself up. I'm still covered with this guy's, blood. And I wasn't living at home. I had an apartment. I went to my mom and dad's house because I was so freaked out. At 3 o'clock in the morning, they answer the door. I'm covered with blood. They think I'm in an accident.
Sure.
And I was up all night. I couldn't sleep for days. And I went back and talked to the same doctor again. He said he started seeing people in his residency.
Oh, really?
Yes. And
I wonder how many healthcare professionals have had this experience.
there are quite a few. And it's kind of a taboo thing, believe me, because this happened over and over and over to me for over 23 years. And it got to be where I could tell where somebody was going to make it and they weren't because they didn't go with us.
Because they didn't go with you?
Yeah, we'd go into a house, start CPR, work on somebody. I'd see them sitting over there in a chair or hovering around us, standing around, and never see them again. So I'm sure they're not going to go with us. They were separated, and they're not back in their body.
Were there ever any people that you saw that went back and then ended up... Yes?
Yes. And those are the ones I knew that were going to make it, because they would wind up in the ambulance with us. I'd see them at the emergency room.
Oh, my God. So you see dead people?
I've seen dead people, and it didn't happen all the time, but it happened so much, Art, that it was the norm for me.
Wildcard Line, you're on the air. Good morning.
Well, hello. I have 2 really good ghost stories. One that happened in a small mining town in Ohio when I was a child. My aunt and uncle had rented a house. The old man that had lived in it was sent off to a nursing home against his will, and swore that he would come back. Well, he died in the nursing home. They moved in, and strange things began to happen. They would smell cabbage boiling. They would hear footsteps going down the hallway, and the toilet flush in the middle of the night, and of course no one was there. Well, I went over to spend the night with my cousins, and my girl cousin and I woke up in the night to find 2 greyhounds standing in the bedroom with their leashes sticking straight up in the air.
Oh, that's bad.
We were like 5 or 6 years old.
Very bad.
So, I left. I wanted to go home. What transpired after that was, one night my aunt was bathing one of the children in the kitchen sink, and she looked out the back door, and there was a man standing there. She kept calling to him to answer her. He wouldn't answer her, so she went and got the shotgun and fired point blank through the door. Well, the neighbor guy came running to find out what was going on, and of course there was no one there. When she gave the description, he described it as the old man that lived there. The next day, my aunt, why she didn't leave, I don't know, but the next day she had made the comment that she was going to go out and pick the grapes that were on the vine.
Yes.
And make some jelly. So she got up bright and early to go out and pick the grapes, and they were all withered on the vine. They moved shortly thereafter.
I don't blame them. Thank you very, very much for the story. It's easy to say, if I was so scared by something that I would pick up a shotgun and fire blankly through a door, I'd be the hell out of there. But in reality, we have lives. Homes, apartments, places where we live, and deposits, and the real things of life, telephones, mail delivery, a million things that tie us to a place. So what we tend to do is rationalize what has occurred.
Now we have Eric here who sold in San Diego, sold his soul on eBay?
Yes, I did.
You did?
Yes.
I thought eBay had regulations against that sort of thing.
They did, but there is a ways to hide it. Like, if you, sell an object or something and then, like, in the background say, oh, it's my soul, kind of thing.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
So you sort of snuck the soul in along with something or another.
Yes, I advertise it as a vial of air, and in parentheses put soul. So,
A vial of air with
vial
soul.
of air.
And somebody actually bought your soul?
Yes, I mean, because let me start at that. I'm a spiritualist, so
Can I inquire how much you received for your vial of air with a soul?
it's I'll get to that. Well, I'm a spiritualist, so to me, the spirit is bound by the flesh, so it cannot leave whatsoever. So I figured, okay, I'll put it on eBay, and if someone's gullible enough to buy it, I'll make $5. Well, anyway, I made $215.
So you sold your soul for $215.
Yes.
And you sent this person a little vial of air.
Yeah, I just took a little vial of air, breathed into it, and closed it, and slapped the label on there.
Oh, brother. Eric, now how do you know that your soul is not in that little vial, now in the possession of God knows, the devil knows who? I guess you know who, but how do you know that, how do you know your soul isn't in there?
Because as I just stated that, I believe the spirit is bonded by the flesh. It cannot.
I believe. That's
Oh yes, I mean that. I understand.
Do you really? Have you used the $215 wisely?
Oh, I made a car payment.
You made a car payment with your soul. One car payment. Man, you sold cheap. You really sold cheap. Was there a buy now price?
I started the bid at $1 and the buyout for $5.
Yeah, that's really very wise. Beginning the bidding at $1 is really the way to go, or even 1 cent. It seems to cause a kind of frantic, I don't know, it's kind of like sharks feeding in the water.
Yeah, it's ego war.
That's what it is, yeah. That's what it is.
And
so there are ways to get around eBay's regulations. You found it and sold your soul.
Oh, and I also want to make a couple comments on those little children that claim to be Satanists.
Aren't there, I don't know about children. They're 24. Eric, I just want to ask, aren't there times, moments when you worry just a little bit that little vial, well, wouldn't you like to have it back?
No. No, because I believe it has never left.
Well, if you took the trouble to breathe a little bit of yourself into that vial, then that's almost ceremonial. I mean, okay. So anyway, you were going to comment on what you called the children.
Yes, because they didn't fit the psychology of what Satanists would be. The psychology of a Satanist is power, and it is a power without a knowledge or physical strength. And so, if they were true Satanists, they would have been bombarding you with knowledge, and when they didn't, and
we'll just call them the children of the corn. Well, all right, Eric. I hope that little bit of hot air that you breathed into the vial did not, in fact, contain your soul. But I wouldn't take any bets on it. $215, just not. It's a good deal. Souls should be worth more than that. They definitely should be worth more than that.
I just wanted to see how disappointed I was that nothing happened with Y2K.
Oh, here we go. Where are you, by the way?
St. Thomas, Ontario. I'm
Ontario,
in
Canada. And you are disappointed that there was not havoc at Y2K, is that correct?
Just a little bit.
How much havoc did you want?
Complete anarchy.
Complete anarchy. In other words, you wanted a total collapse of civilization as we know it.
Wouldn't that be kind of fun?
No, it wouldn't. And why do you think it would be?
I'm not sure. I've always looked forward to what other people view as negative things.
So, when a ship goes down, or an airplane goes down, you get sort of excited. When a volcano erupts and wipes out entire villages, you begin to break out into a squint, and a smile comes to your face.
Somewhat entertaining.
Somewhat entertaining. You're a real piece of work, you are. I don't know about you. Complete anarchy. Somewhat entertaining. Let's have death and destruction. Maybe you should order the George Carlin tape. That's actually what George said. Bigger disasters is what we need. Bigger disasters.
Time traveler line, you are on the air. Hello.
Hello.
You claim to be a time traveler.
Yes, I do. I have time traveled.
Okay, so in other words, you're in the here and now, present.
Yes, I'm here now. I time traveled back to 1987, where I actually had...
That was actually a pretty good year.
Yeah, that was a good year. I have some proof of the matter. There is a Pink Floyd album called Momentary Lapse of Reason.
Yeah.
And there's a photograph of me in that album.
Of you?
Yes. The song is called Yet Another Movie.
Well, but how could we know that it was you of, what'd you say, 87, right?
Yes.
How would we know that was you of 87? Well, I guess it would.
Well, the way it works is your body doesn't actually time travel. Your mind does.
Well, then how would they take a picture of your mind?
They didn't take a picture of my mind. They took a picture of myself when I was in 1987.
Then you were able to physically manifest yourself in 1987, and they couldn't have taken a picture, right?
That is correct. I have a computer in my brain.
Cool. A Pentium?
No, I actually don't know what it is.
Oh, you don't have a Mac up there, do you?
No, I have a some kind of computer implant.
So I suppose when you finally do die, it's going to be the blue screen of death, and you're gone, right?
I don't think so. Actually, I'm being very serious.
I know you are.
trying to
giving you
connect.
trouble. I'm sorry. Go right ahead. You have a computer in your brain.
Yes. I am in contact with the future right now. They communicate with me through this computer telepathically and psychically.
As far out as what year?
From what I've been told, 2050.
All right. It's obviously going to be important to all of us to know what's coming between now and 2050. Any little shred of anything you can give us.
I can tell you this, that right now aliens live in us, in every single person on this planet, and no one is aware of it.
You mean every one of us are in effect possessed?
If you want to call it that. It's not something that you can notice.
If they're in us, that's what I call it.
That's what I call it too. They possess us.
You know what? If this were real, now here's the only problem I've got. If what you're telling me would be real, I mean, I've seen Star Trek. I've seen Kirk get thrown on the floor, tortured, when he would do the kind of thing that you and I are doing right now. If aliens were actually in each one of us, then my talking about this on the air openly with you would cause me to go thrashing around on the floor in pain, holding my head, screaming, and or same for you.
Yes, it's not something that we notice though. They don't have physical form. They are some kind of something else, but they don't have physical form, and they possess us this way. Right now, in the world today, nobody is aware of it. I am aware of it because I have a computer in my brain. The computer was put in my brain in 1992 through an MRI scan.
Why you?
Well, I've been, since late March of 1999, I've been in a psychic battle for, it's almost 2 years now. They tell me that I'm the Hopi prophet.
So you're fighting the computer, in essence? Is that right?
No, there's two sides. It's like the future is playing a game, so to speak.
Well, all this aside, and I wish you luck in your battle, it is important to us to know what's coming, if you can give us any shreds of
Well,
info.
let me tell you this, that in the future, everybody knows that there's aliens. You supposedly have a choice whether they can live in you or not.
In other words, we are the aliens.
No. Well, we're all aliens.
Yep.
I mean, just look at this tiny little speck that we call Earth that we're on.
No, but I think the most important thing you said is that aliens are already here. They're in every one of us. So
That's correct.
So in effect, we are the aliens.
Yes.
The entire world has been possessed.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here's the part I don't get. The world right now is really, really screwed up. So if the aliens are in all of us, they're really misbehaving, and they began about 30 years ago. So none of this is our fault; it's their fault.
They are.
All right, sir.
They operate on a higher mind level. They operate in an abstract world.
Yeah, but they're acting like social gorillas.
They are. They're bad. They've been possessing me. I've got lumps on the sides of my head.
Oh my God.
And they're in me right now.
Yeah.
They communicate with me. They have my body split in half. The left side of my body is false, the right side is true. And they tap little sections of my body. That's another way that they communicate with me.
I've seen guys like you at football games.
Really?
Yeah, in the crowd. Half of them is, well, anyway. Listen, thank you very much for the call. I almost don't know how to deal with that. No. What are you going to do? There's another new concept for you. Do you ever consider that not only are the aliens here, but they're in every single one of us? That would account for a lot, wouldn't it? We are all aliens. We have been long since possessed. And if we can use the mark of social behavior as a moment when it occurred, it was about 30 some odd years ago. That sure would answer a lot of questions.
Alabama, all the way to Alabama. Annie, hi.
Hey there, Art. I know you're good with Morse code, and my mother died last February, and I went to her house, and I got her things, especially her little mirror she was so fond of when she was growing up, and I set the mirror in front of the microwave, and I began picking up Morse code over the microwave, so I whipped out my tape recorder real fast. I recorded all I could until my tapes were completely used up, and I still have those, and I wonder if I can send those to you. And I only heard one side of it. And
Wait, hold on. The microwave was issuing microwave oven, right?
Yes, sir.
Uh-huh. There was Morse code coming out of the microwave?
Definitely dots and dashes. I've studied Morse code. I've been trying to pass my amateur license for years, and now they don't require the code anymore.
That's true.
However, I do have it on tape, and it was one side of the conversation. It would pause after several sentences and then give somebody time to answer, and I didn't pick up that side of it. I went on the internet to see if there was any way that anybody else ever came up with a similar story, and I found one person who did. A lady said she was picking up Morse on her microwave too.
Out of curiosity, obviously, if you taped this and you've now studied Morse a little bit, did you decode any of it and figure out what was being said?
I did, and it sounded like acronyms and abbreviations, and I couldn't figure it out, but I definitely made out letters and numbers. And there's some of the Morse that's ambiguous because you can run it together so fast you can't tell where they're stopping with one word and starting another one. And it was ambiguous because some of the numbers and letters had very similar sequences, and you didn't know where it was beginning and when it was ending. It was so fast. And I was also on my tapes. Yeah, I'm going to send them to you. And in the same house, my mother and I grew up with my grandmother in this same house. And she died in the hospital. I went to a third house and got her mirror that she had in a fourth house in Virginia when she was growing up. She died in the hospital. So,
all right. Well, listen, I appreciate it. Morse code from a microwave. Interesting. Yes, I'd enjoy hearing the tapes, particularly if there's anything to be made out from it. Now, one might suggests that, as you know, when a microwave is done, it goes beep, 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 whatever, makes a little noise, right? Well, maybe that thing went crazy. Maybe it really wasn't Morse code, or maybe it was. I don't know. That's intriguing. I've never heard of a...
I believe it was actually, I said 2004. I think it was a little earlier, 2002. But basically, I believe the first person to see it was a heavy equipment operator. Saw something from the ground that looked. He thought it was an otter plane, which they use up there for transport a lot. And as it got closer, he could see that it wasn't a plane at all, but a bird. He actually got on the radio and told the people in the nearby village to get the children off the street because this thing might pick them up and take them away. A pilot who actually, because that was reported locally, he'd heard about it and thought he had a good laugh over it, and he himself was flying passengers to another village up in Alaska, and he saw it along with all the passengers, and he measured it, estimating the size of a 14-foot wingspan, and looking like something out of Jurassic Park, and the local sort of scientists, biologists said, well, there isn't really anything that big, hasn't been around here for about 100,000 years. There was some suggestion that there's a stellar sea eagle that flies in from Siberia that's got at least a 10 or 11-foot wingspan, much bigger than a bald eagle, American bald eagle, that if people hadn't seen it before, would be quite shocking to see it. But this is mysterious, and I, with my work with Native people in the Pacific Northwest, of course, the Thunderbird, it's integral to all of their cultural activities there, and it's certainly something that appears, Thunderbirds in their mythology picked up whales out of the ocean.
Picked up whales out of the ocean?
Yeah.
All right, well, so this was seen, it is true in Alaska. Anywhere you go in Alaska, any travel at all in the state, pretty much has to be by air. So there's an awful lot of small plane traffic in Alaska. You simply have to go by air. It's too big, it's too cold, it's too remote. You have to go by air, period. So,
yeah.
But would that be a creature like that? Would it normally be that far north in the world, or would most of these type of creatures tend to be in southern latitudes?
Well, you would think so. It really, you can't imagine, other than some huge winged eagle-like creature, what would actually be up there. But for that matter, I don't really understand what the sightings of Big Bird would be in Wisconsin or Texas either, right? I mean, it's pretty difficult as well. What was less or more easy to believe in was the idea of mythical, creatures, massive creatures in the Amazon, and that's what brought me down to Venezuela. I would say on my grandest film expedition yet.
Here's a ghost story from an emergency room in Arizona. Art, I'm an X-ray technician who was working at an Arizona hospital back in the winter of 2006. My work hours at the time, 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. graveyard shift, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. On a Saturday morning, around 1 or 2 in the morning, the ER called to tell my partner that an ambulance was en route with a 50 to 60-year-old male patient who was non-responsive with a thready pulse. We were to stand by and be ready to do a portable chest X-ray, post-trachea intubation. When the time came, my partner went to do this portable X-ray, leaving me alone in the X-ray control room not more than 4 or 5 minutes after he'd left, an older white male dressed in faded blue jeans and a stained white T-shirt came to the door of the control room. Now, this is a difficult task because you need an electronic card key to access the area at this time of night. So I looked up from my paperwork, noticed this man, and asked, "Sir, can I help you?" He seemed to be looking for something or someone, but didn't answer. I asked again, "Sir, can I help you? Are you looking for someone? Are you lost?" This time, he raised his bright blue eyes in my direction and seemed to look right through me. The man said, "No, son, I think I've found my way." He gave me a sad smile, shook his head, and moved from the doorway toward the direction of the ER. So I got up and went to the open door and looked down the long hallway, didn't see anyone. I then checked the adjoining hallways, the 2 X-ray suites, even our file room. No trace of anybody. Being a little confused, I went back down the hall to the ER department to check on my co-worker's progress, shaking my head the whole way. When I finally got to the nurse's desk, I asked an RN friend if she'd seen the man I described. She gave me a funny look, said he was in trauma room 1, where my partner was supposed to be performing the emergency chest X-ray. I went to the trauma room door, walked in, just in time to see the physician declare the time of death on the man I saw in the X-ray control room not more than 15 minutes prior. Needless to say, I must have looked like the one who was white as a ghost. Robbie from Phoenix, Arizona. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hi, Art. This is Robert from New Orleans.
Hello, Robert.
First, let me say I got your book yesterday.
Oh, you did?
I am very, very happy.
Is that, tell everybody, I've really not been soliciting comment yet, but is that one quality book or what?
Oh, yes, sir, it is. It's much better than I thought it would be.
Well, there you are. I'm glad to hear it. We'll do a day later this week and solicit comment. Anyway, it is Ghost to Ghost night.
Okay, Art. In New Orleans, I guess you know we bury people above ground here.
I've heard.
Right. Well, my grandmother's buried.
Hey, Diedrich, what's going on?
We clean them out every so often and clean up around them and feed them. And me and my younger son will go walking and looking for the dates on each one of these tombs. As we're going through one day, we noticed that a couple of them have been broken into. So we start looking into them, and we're seeing that the bodies have been disturbed, the caskets are open or broken or chipped out in corners.
Boy.
As we go to one of the oldest ones, which is about a block down from my grandmother, it was an 8-year-old girl who died during the time that there was a bad scarlet fever going around in New Orleans where thousands of people had died.
Yes, sir.
As I climb up to look in there, I noticed there are 2 bodies in there, but these are recent bodies, like a day or 2.
You mean like the people who had been desecrating?
Yes, that's exactly who they were. It was 2 of them, 2 young men. One face down and one face up. The one face up had an expression on his face like you've never seen in your life. I ran and told the keepers of the ground, and they called the police, and the police came and everything. And 2 weeks later, I had called to ask, what had happened to the guys. And he said, as far as I could tell, both guys had died of heart attacks. And the one who I saw, I'm sure, died of fright. And they said the coffin where the little girl had been in was, of course, opened. It was a metal coffin at the time. And they said they guess they were robbing them at the time, and something happened that scared them to death.
Oh, my God, what a story. That's a true story?
Oh, yes, it's very true. My son talks about it all the time, and every Halloween, it's the first thing we start telling the rest of the family about it.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
Oh my God, I just realized I like this stream because I don't need to put energy in messes. It's just normal to be dead here. I love that.
I know what they thought. That little girl took her revenge when they tried to break into her home.
Well,
Thank you for the call.
yeah,
Take care.
we keep it chill here.
I actually have an offer to make to you this evening.
Well, I'm not the devil, so you can't.
I don't know. I feel like when you are the person streaming, though,
I have a son.
it can be nice to get messages.
And he's in a band out of Athens, Georgia.
Yes.
Oh, people actually exist around here.
One of the doors, January 8th.
Yes.
And I'm willing to offer up my soul this evening.
But, at the same time, it's,
MySpace page. And if they deem it
whatever.
worthy,
Oh, Stuart. Stuart. That's not a good deal.
why is
I suppose I would, if I wasn't streaming, doing art streams, me working on this would be quite similar. No contact.
Billboard charts or something.
Relatively quiet.
Well, there's no guarantee that it would go any
Though I would probably be watching other people's streams.
It is.
Or have it on while working on art.
No, I'm afraid not. All right, you're very welcome. And,
Please don't start screaming. I would be scared.
I mean, to sell your soul.
Trying to find a conversation subject to talk to someone. I'm gonna start yelling really loud.
My grandfather passed away a couple of months
all the time.
He lived in Richmond, Washington, and worked at Hanford.
Because loud is funny, right?
Until his retirement.
Right? If you're loud, that's just like automatically funny. Yeah?
And left behind a beautiful.
That's how comedy works.
Every inch of his property was well tended. However, he also left behind something very disturbing. When my family and I went through his house one last time before it sold, I chanced upon a large metal chest that was hidden under some empty cardboard boxes in the basement. It was heavily locked. Thinking nothing of it at the time, I broke the lock and opened the heavy lid. The chest was completely lined with lead, and inside were several glass. The jars contained a variety of ordinary-looking seeds. So, I took the whole chest home with me to Seattle. Now it gets weird. The next day, I planted just one single seed from one of the jars.
Yeah, we're gonna completely pivot the entire vibes of the stream. We're gonna
anything I've ever heard of.
we're gonna be doing a lot of yelling.
My entire back
I'm gonna be listening,
choking out and killing all the other plants
exclusively to
creeping vines and broad spiny
throbbing techno and death metal.
Flowers that smelled like
keep the energy up.
Flesh.
Keep it hyped.
The bees.
We're gonna be going crazy here.
Swarmed. Several days later, the blooms wilted and the plant started budding its terrible fruit. Fist-sized chunks of raw meat. Before I could stop him, my dog had eaten one. He became very sick. Within a few hours, all of his hair fell out, and he died. I'm scared, Art. I tried angrily to hack the plant with a machete, but its thorny vines are extremely tough. It's now growing back stronger and faster than before. Nobody that I know has any idea what it is or what to do, and I'm on the verge of contacting the local authorities. God help us if the rest of these seeds should
You're going crazy without that.
Signed, Bill in Seattle. That's pretty weird stuff, folks. And it just goes on and on and on. So we're in the middle of another, I don't know what you would call this, another flash of totally weird stuff as the moon grows full. All right, back to talk radio. That catches you up on just a little bit of what I have. And you've got to admit, it's
so crazy.
Let me give you a quote from a movie and see if you can tell me what movie this comes from. Okay?
I'm not good at that, but sure.
Well, you will get this one, I believe. Money, not morality, is the principal commerce of all civilized nations.
I have no idea what movie it came from, but
that was
it's
a Thomas Jefferson quote from the movie The Formula, starring Marlon Brando and George C. Scott.
But I was going to say it's absolutely true.
It is true.
Yeah.
You know, the Genesis Project, which was actually called the Genesis Project, was what the Germans were doing during World War II. And that was the formula for synthetic petroleum. And, you know, I'm sure you've heard, of course, you've been in this business for years, you've heard many people say, and many of your guests say, that there is a formula for synthetic petroleum.
Maybe.
Well, look here, on your question.
I've heard a lot of things, man. I've heard about the 150-mile carburetor. I've heard about, hey, listen, hey, we're talking gas from regular water. I've heard all that, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But I haven't seen it.
Real.
I haven't seen it, though.
No.
Have you?
Probably never will.
Well, okay.
Well, look here, the crisis is real.
Yeah. All right, then.
Or as reality goes.
Yeah, it's real. Can the American people accept that? No.
No. Some price.
Yeah.
I'm up late this evening doing my income tax. Last year I spent $16,000 on fuel with my business.
You're not in a good frame of mind at all, then.
Oh, no, I had to write a check or two tonight. Steal and kill, people are doing that already.
But
it will get worse. And the war, we've gone to Iraq twice just to protect our oil.
It's already going on.
And let me ask you a question. You had a guest on that said the reason that we went into Iraq was because of the conversion from American dollars to Euro dollars.
Well,
you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
What do you think of that?
I don't think that's the reason we went to Iraq.
Well, no. Do you think that's one of the reasons?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe one of them. I don't know.
You think the United States, the U.S. dollar went to the euro? In other words, instead of using the United States dollar and go to the euro dollar, which is $1.38 today, I believe, that would really affect us, wouldn't it?
Yes. Yes, and you know, I live in a narrow little world, right? I'm a ham radio operator. I just watched one of the best-selling radios in the world for ham radio operators, kind of an entry-level, medium, actually one of the best radios ever made, go from a price that was, it was a transceiver, and it was made in, is made in Japan. At the low point, it was selling for $706, include to its manufacturing price. It just, the price just went up to $950. $950. And the stories are legion that we're getting, that it's the yen versus the dollar versus the euro. But specifically in this case, the yen versus the dollar difference. So prices are already taking leaps and bounds and jumps, and it's incredible. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Yeah, that's really wild that you had this guy on about this.
Why is conversation so hard?
Chemicals, because that's exactly what I was.
You're asking the wrong person.
Well, suppose there was a guy in the 50s that lived, and he was a chemist.
I have no idea.
Of all things. And the kids around the neighborhood, this guy was always tinkering around.
I don't know how the yappers do it.
We had motor scooters, and the guy says, "Come over here. I'm going to show you something." He takes some water and some chemicals, puts it together, it fuses around, and all of a sudden it smells like gasoline. And he pours it in the motorcycle and says, "Now, ride your motorcycle."
Yeah.
And it ran on. And after some more refining, when we progressed to where we have a 55 Chevy, he says, "Here, let's try it in your 55 Chevy." So we fill up the tank. Of all things, it runs on it. And
what happened to this man?
That's another story.
Well, let's hear it.
I just say hello, and what happens after is none of my business.
Well, he tried to do something with this.
Well, you know, that is certainly an option.
Took it away and all, and
do you believe all this?
I believe it. Yeah, I believe it.
You do.
And nothing inherently wrong with that.
Well, they can't kill you. You're on the phone.
Two different sets of the manuals for this.
Okay, so did you get one of them?
I don't know. Hasn't.
You don't.
I know they exist.
Darn. So in other words, somewhere out there, there's a way to turn water into gas.
Yeah, they exist.
I always remember growing up, people in my family would always do the worst possible thing you can do to a quiet person. Why don't you talk? Talk. Why don't you talk more? Why don't you talk? Talk. Come on, talk.
You don't have it, though. So who did he tell this to? Not you.
They told it to
It's like that.
and we
It's perhaps
you do. And
not the way to go about making that happen.
Oh, you do know where it is. You must have a death wish.
Yeah, right.
Calling a talk show like this with a story like that.
How do we get that out without
dying?
Ended up in the same problem he had.
I imagine a big oil truck rolled over him or something, right?
I don't know what happened to him.
The equivalent of that.
Ceased to come home, and they sold his house. Somebody sold his house. He never saw him.
I don't know, sir. I have to be skeptical about these kinds of
Sure you
claims.
would, but how would you get something like that? That was my question.
In other words, assuming you had the manual, how would you get it out?
Somebody had the manual. How would you get it out without the same scenario that he wanted? You have an answer for that?
No, I don't. Given a little thought about it, then maybe. I mean, we've got the internet. I suppose publicizing this manual worldwide, well, that would be a good start. I mean, just publicize it worldwide. How about that?
Yes, that's possible.
Go to an internet cafe somewhere?
But then you told
buy a
me
little
don't make
time?
anything off of it.
Well, don't you want to save the world?
Well, I'd like to make something too.
Well, I would imagine, if verified, such thing would be worth a very great deal of money. Of course, you know, when you went up to Larry King or whoever and said, look,
Nothing happened next.
Well,
that scenario,
I don't know now. See,
how would you?
You want to make money? Look, I got.
One night, it was Halloween night, like I said, 77 or 78. I worked in the evening.
I'm also tired today. I don't know why.
When I got home, now these guys
No good reason to be tired today.
sort of dabbling in the occult. They'd gotten a bunch of books on demonology and stuff.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Your roommates were doing this, huh?
Yeah, they were doing that.
Now that's a red flag right away. Didn't that worry you a little bit?
Not really, because I have my own beliefs, and I'm not really that.
I mean, you weren't worried about ending up on a sacrifice altar some night with the three of them staring at you?
No, not really.
All right.
These guys were a little bit nuts, but they weren't that bad. I think I would like to think that I would have.
What is your first name?
Eric.
I mean, Eric, they would be looking down at you saying, Eric, we gave you every opportunity to join us. we really wish you had. But now we need you for a higher purpose. And then there would be this long, jagged, twisted knife. You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah.
And at any rate,
ritual sacrifice.
That's right. So none of that was true.
No, none of that. But I came home and I found that they had gone into the basement. Now this was a big, long apartment building. 2 blocks long. It was a zigzag architecture, sort of like an L-shaped pattern. And in our section of the building, we had a exclusive use of the basement. And looked around, I didn't see him anywhere, and I happened to notice that one of their books was out on the table. So I went down.
Feels like there's not a whole lot more to do, but I know that's not true. That's not true at all.
They had the pentacle on the
pentagram
floor, on the inside of circle of
This
sand.
whole area up here has a lot of
One of the guys was
large, solid areas, and that always
and
takes much longer than
most
these skinny pipe tubes.
individual in the world. I've got my own religious beliefs, but the demonology in that, I sort of.
That's okay. Here they were trying to summon up something with big teeth and.
Large, solid areas require
Comment. If there is a devil,
a lot more coverage.
Part of it, you know.
Well, yeah, I guess so, but at the same time, I was being a sarcastic little schnuck.
Peer pressure.
More coverage means more dots. More dots means more time. More time, more money. Time is money. Money is time.
Our corner, foot locker. Okay, old World War I wooden foot locker.
Right.
And inside that foot locker was a radio. Funny, you'd mentioned the transistor radio earlier.
Right.
This was a transistor radio. It had been in a fire. One of the other guys, it had been his brother's. He had stuck it inside the foot locker after it had burned. Why, I don't know, but he did. And it was one of those things where the foot locker itself was damaged. Nobody could get into it without destroying it because his younger brother had gone ahead and pulled a practical joke on him and stuck some super glue in there.
Yeah, that'll do it. All right, so we've got to get to the punchline here.
The key had broken off. Nobody could get in.
Right.
That radio had not worked in I don't know how long. Immediately after I said, give us a sign.
Yes.
That radio started playing.
Well,
she is a devil woman with evil on her mind.
It started playing that.
That's correct.
Do you understand the implications of that for your soul? That's a very nice laugh you have, but I'm being very serious. Do you understand?
I understand what you're saying.
Are you ready for the ride?
There won't be. There won't be.
Uh-huh.
I know where I'm going.
Do you? Have you ever been in an elevator in like a 50 or 60 story building and, you press the down thing and it's like you lose some of your weight and you can feel yourself lightening up as it goes down?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Well, that's nothing compared to the ride you're going to take.
Well, maybe.
Just having fun with you. But that is not good. Do not, particularly in a situation of a circle of safety, protection, a pentagram, 3 other guys, ask for a sign from the devil, and then obviously get one, and not be somewhat concerned about your ultimate destination, and it won't be on a L1011. First time caller line, you're on the air. Hi.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
A long time I've been trying to get in touch with you. I sent you an email approximately 2 months ago concerning vampirism.
Vampires?
Yes, did you receive it?
I remember getting some email about vampires. What specifically did it say?
Precisely that I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm calling from Florida right now. I have been involved in a vampire society for, most of my adult life.
You're telling me you are a vampire?
Yes, Mr. Bell, I am.
Okay.
I sent you an email because I was going to go public with information concerning vampirism in America and how it's affected in the media.
Well, the media basically ignores it, except, of course, for movies and television and that sort of thing.
The disinformation.
Yes. And so here is an opportunity then to learn the true story behind vampirism. What is your story? What is an American vampire?
An American vampire.
That's right.
It's true that the media ignores it because I did rent out conference room at the Plaza, the whole press conference in New York 2 months ago. I sent you an email concerning it.
Now, you know what? I would have remembered that. You were going to have a press conference?
Yes.
And announce you're a vampire?
Yes.
Wow.
And no one, any legitimate media sources in New York arrived.
Oh, no.
You know, tabloid journalists and assorted, I can't even put words to them, underground.
Low lives.
Yeah, no shit. What do you expect to happen? You send out
No one would take it seriously. And
a press release that you're gonna have a press conference coming out as a vampire.
people think.
Well, okay, I will take it seriously. Let's discuss
You think
what a vampire
big news outlets are gonna care
Way of life.
and not think you're a crazy person?
Where all these myths come from, that the sun does drain energy from our bodies. That's why we are creatures of the night. That's why we do go out nocturnally. But
do you, as you know, the movies will show a vampire actually sizzling and burning up in the sun?
Disinformation.
Disinformation. I thought as much. Well, there you are.
But the sun does weaken you, is just like anyone else. And people who do thrive on blood and other bodily fluids are affected even more by the sun. And the moon does energize people. And people who are in the vampire lifestyle do know of this, and that's why they do travel by night.
Well, let us hit the bottom line here. Do you actually drink blood?
Yes, Mr. Bell, I do.
Do you really? Human or animal or both?
There have been times of both. I try to stay with animal blood.
Yeah, what little I know of vampires, the more, this sounds silly, but the more ethical or moralistic vamps go for animal blood and pretty much leave humans alone. Is that true?
Yes. A lot of the kids who are now getting involved in this pseudo-vampire cult and the romanticism of vampirism, they're experimenting with human blood, but human blood is only taken from vampire to vampire in rituals, also in sexual activities. It heightens the senses, but only with the partner you're with. For feeding, mostly cattle.
Cattle?
Mostly cattle. I had a club in New Orleans. It was called Blue Crystal. It was a vampire bar. And we had associations with local butcher shops, and we would get cattle blood, and we would serve it with alcoholic beverages.
How do you, lovely, how do you go into a butcher shop and ask for blood reasonably?
You have to understand the city of New Orleans. The city of New Orleans has been...
Well, there are food dishes that require blood.
You would mention it. I'm going to go to New Orleans.
Blood sausage.
Really?
But don't mention my name. I'm sort of an outcast.
Why?
Because I did go public on cable access television in New Orleans, learning vampirism.
In other words, they don't like the limelight as well as sunlight.
Pretty much, Mr. Bell.
How did you become a vampire?
I was introduced to it by a woman.
Figures.
14 years old.
Seduced.
You could call it that.
I did.
Many female vampires are also succubi.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And, yeah, that's a pun there. But, I was introduced to the lifestyle. I was introduced not only to the heightening of the senses, but also the social stature in the city of New Orleans.
What is it about New Orleans, anyway, that is conducive to this sort of thing?
I think it came from the West Indies, and also European influence. New Orleans is the most European city in this nation, and it holds very strongly to its European values.
Well, it also is the home to Anne Rice, who writes about people of your ilk.
Yes, Anne is a very special lady.
So, in other words, vampires generally look at the work of Anne Rice as flattery.
The work of Anne Rice is, I will tell you now, Mr. Bell, more fact and fiction than she will let the public know about.
Well, I had a feeling that might have been true, actually.
Miss Rice was repaid for a favor. And I don't care if telling you this now. These are things I have. Oh, can you believe a vampire with goosebumps? I have them now. But Miss Rice was repaid by a vampire in New Orleans.
I'm not sure I want to know more about that. I think we'll just leave it there.
Well, her success came back. Her success was given to her by a vampire. And she is highly successful, and she always will be. And she's highly protected.
How long, is there any difference in the lifespan of a vampire and a normal mortal?
Mr. Bell, I would be happy to send you a photo of myself. I am 38 years old.
Yes.
I look like I'm 22.
Uh-huh.
I entered in vampirism at the age of 14, and I will say that I've aged 8 years in 24 years.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
Beats most skin creams. But, you know, it's such a distasteful thing, this drinking of blood. How do you get past that part?
It's actually flavored.
Flavored?
Different flavoring. It's not what you see in the movies where someone just goes to someone's neck or rips open a vein, or it's ingested through other means. Like I say, at our bar, the Blue Crystal, alcoholic beverages were laced with blood. Also, the food you ingest.
Giving new name to Bloody Marys.
Yeah, or blood sausage.
Great. Oh, great. Well, is there anything else critical that we should know?
Well, I wish people would have came to the press conference. All I want you to know that the media...
Why did you... Now, that's a good question. Why did you want to hold a press conference? Why did you want to go public? What was your motive?
Because of the youth of today. Your term, the quickening, is very on target.
I know.
We have a lost generation. People who are my age, in their mid to late 30s, they're going to be a valued commodity because there is no generation to follow them. They're very few and far between. Vampirism is contributing to that. We have serious vampire cults from Florida all the way to Seattle.
So you're trying to tell the American people there are many more vampires than they might imagine.
Yes, and they're not the kids you see with the black makeup and the pale white skin and all this. They're the ones who are basically the stormtroopers. They're the ground troops. The people behind the media are promoting this, promoting bands like Marilyn Manson, promoting all these bands, and getting the youth involved in it, but not letting them up to the upper echelon to know what the plan is.
What is the plan?
Basically to dispose of this last generation.
Wow.
The human race will not be around much longer, not as we know it.
No?
And it's a shame, and there are people in levels of society who know about it. They know of the plan.
How many vampires do you think are there now in America?
Over 1 million.
1 million vampires?
Yes, so.
Well, that's frightening. That really is frightening.
You can pick up any magazine.
Yes.
People, Variety, and read names, and 20% of the names you'll read in Variety are vampires.
Really?
We're talking major studio heads, major corporate executives.
So there are more vampires by percentage in Hollywood then, for
Everywhere.
example, than there are elsewhere. Say in St. Louis.
Well, actually, if you look towards a city like Chicago, the birthplace of Walt Disney was a vampire, Mr. Bell.
Was he really?
And the tradition follows in that company.
I mean, I've heard so much about Walt Disney, but that's one thing I've never heard, that he was a vampire. And so
it's true for him.
Oh, really?
And the tradition carries down with people in this
But he did so many good things, Walt did, that it's hard to imagine him as a vampire.
I'm not saying vampires are evil. They live a different lifestyle.
I'm sure from your point of view you wouldn't believe that, of course.
You know, of course, he did many wonderful things, but he lived a certain lifestyle. And that lifestyle, it has been perverted. That's what I'm trying to say. They know what's happening in this world. They know where the human race is headed.
So
they don't care.
Your intent then was to
Let the world know we're here.
Uh-huh.
Quit hiding the fact.
So you're coming out of the casket, so to speak.
I like that. Maybe put that on a T-shirt in my next business endeavor.
Well, I mean, that is what it amounts to, isn't it? All right, well, listen, I really have got to leave, I'm afraid, because we're at the bottom of the hour. But this has been a unusual discussion.
Mr. Bell, keep it in mind, if you have your email filed on computer, try to find that.
All right, I'll see what I can do. Otherwise, send it again. Thanks for the call.
This piece is intense. Yeah, it is a little intense, I suppose. It's all over the place. We're approaching the end, though. Approaching. How many hours on this one? That's a good question. Let's see. We're probably...
Your water shall mingle with our water.
Oh dang, Neurospicy Raid. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome. How are y'all doing? I'm working on this thing here. But, let's see. Pet Hippie. This is probably the 17th stream I've worked on this. And they're roughly 4 hours each. Some a little more, some a little less. So I think we're looking at over 60 hours on this one so far. Hey, Neurospicy, how you doing? How's your stream? I feel like it's been a while. I don't think I've seen what you're working on lately. I need to go check that out. Hanging in there, stream was good? Excellent. I'm doing all right. You took a 2-week break, so it wasn't just me zoning out and missing it. Breaks are nice, definitely. But yeah, I'm doing good here. Slowly hammering away at this. The end is in sight. Probably this week. This week, I'm hoping to finish this and be done with it. Diatomic Kitten. Appreciate the follow very much. Yeah. I feel like I've been working on this forever. Pet Hippie was just asking how long I've been working on this. And it's at least 60 hours. With, yeah, at least 60. But, you know, Neurospicy, if you gotta go de-stream, deal with some other stuff, feel free, of course. But yeah, I appreciate bringing your crew over here. Hope everyone else is doing well. Feel free to lurk in the shadows. That's usually what we do here. We lurk in the shadows. I'm always up for some chatting too. Actually, let's go back in. This whole thing's gonna take forever. And this section, gonna take forever. Art People 42. Welcome. Thank you for the follow. I'm here. I'm Hegesius. If people don't know, I'm always bad at when raids come in. If people don't know, my name is Hegesius. I make weird abstract art, usually with stippling and a lot of fine lines. sometimes just stippling only. Very tedious, time-consuming stuff. If you're coming in from Neurospicy's stream, I assume you're quite familiar with very time-consuming art. I know they do it up in a similar way as well. But yeah, we mostly just hang, chill, listen to music. Every now and then, some random crazy thing happens. Me, tedious art? No way. You know it. You know it. Don't you play coy. I feel like I'm going to be stippling all the parts around this big area first, just to avoid getting to that part. I was already saying this earlier on stream, but the larger the surface area, the longer it takes. And the slower I want to say it. See these nice little, whatever you call these things, tubes, pipes, lines. They don't need that many dots. That's very nice, very nice. This. So many. So many. Gonna go make dinner and feed the pets. Alrighty, Neuro. Sounds good. But yeah, as always, thanks for the raid. Thanks for stopping by for a bit. It's always lovely. Absolutely lovely. and have a good one. Have some good foods. Update, something happened after conversation worked. Diedrich, I like to imagine your forays into conversation. It's just like an experimental study where you go out, take notes on what happened after saying specific things. You have a control group where you just don't say anything at all to anyone. And that's your baseline. Why did I jump to this area? No idea why. I kind of wanted to keep working over there, but it's too late now. It's too late. We've already begun. Yeah, exactly. Then you can incorporate your research into the conversation and see how talking about your research affects the course of the conversation. That, oh, people don't respond too well to me telling them I'm including them in a secret experiment. It makes the conversation feel so technical. Bro, that's my whole life. Observing people in conversation and trying stuff and seeing if it works. Yeah, that's understandable. I'm pretty sure a weirdly large amount of people are similar. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just kept trying stuff and it seemed to work out. Sort of, sometimes. Not always, not every time. But enough. Starting to be good at it. It's amazing. Only took 18 years. But, you know, what's the now cliche? Like, it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. Maybe it took you 18 years to hit that 10,000 hour mark. Maybe, yeah, because I don't talk to people so much. It's a slow grind.
I worked in Las Vegas for KBWN radio at that time, and I used to commute back and forth from here to Las Vegas every single day. Well, Ramona and myself were on the way home, and in fact had almost made it home. Not more than, I don't know, a quarter, half mile at the most from here, as we were making one of the last turns toward the house. Ramona, who was in the driver's seat, said, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Behind us." And so I pulled the car over and stopped on the side of the road. We had a little Geo Metro, red Geo Metro at that time. We still have a Geo Metro, by the way. And pulled over to the side of the road, and we both got out and stood and watched this incredible black triangle approaching us from the rear. It was still approaching at that point as we stood by the car. And I'm telling you, folks, this mama was big. It was pure black. It could not have been more than, I'd estimate 150 feet above us. It was monstrous as it passed overhead. The stars and the nearly full moon at the time went away, just like in the movie, Close Encounters or whatever. This thing couldn't have been doing more than about 30 or 40 miles an hour, and maybe less. I'd say 30, maybe 30 miles an hour. It was not flying, not a conventional aircraft would fly. It was floating. Not only was it floating or defying gravity, however you wish it, it was making no noise whatsoever, no apparent propulsion system whatsoever. It was so quiet you could hear crickets a quarter of a mile away, half a mile away. And it was so close, I felt like I could have thrown a rock at it, but I didn't. I was so shocked. And so I guess we were both actually in shock. And it passed directly over our heads and kept on going in a west-northwesterly direction, roughly toward what we know as Area 51 out here, just over the mountain range from me. But there's no question about what it was. There's also no question about what it is not. Now, we were not the only ones to have seen it in the valley this night. Many people in the valley saw it and reported it, and the newspaper out here made a call to Nellis Air Force Base. And in fact, I didn't even report it to the newspaper. This was in the next week's paper, that Nellis had been called because so many people had seen this. And Nellis responded with something like, and I'm paraphrasing, yes, it was possible that a secret mission overflew the Pahrump Valley on that date or that evening. But that it was a C-130 aircraft. That's right, a C-130 aircraft. And I tell you folks, I was in the Air Force, and I rode in C-130s, and they're really big, top-pitch airplanes, and they make a lot of noise and would have rattled my teeth. And I can absolutely assure you, what I looked up and saw, what Ramona looked up and saw, was a large, black, metallic looking, you know what, I should retract that. Large, black, I can't say metallic looking. You can sort of think metal because that's generally what aircraft are made out of, right? But it was large, black, silent, and either defying gravity or floating. That's what we saw. I made all the reports you're supposed to make to the various agencies, and I was embarrassed for the Air Force in coming up with that explanation for what had been a C-30. And then I thought very hard about it before I went on the air, because I talk about this kind of thing. That's what this program is all about, the unusual. Well, this was really unusual. And I thought very hard about it. Should I even report that I've seen something like this, even though I had my wife with me? Because doing this kind of a program, people are going to go, oh, come on. Sorry. That's what I saw, and ultimately I decided I should tell the truth and tell what I saw. And that's how we're going to start out the conversation, talking about these for real, and they are for real. I can't say that about a lot of things I talk about on the air because I don't know it to be true, but Colin, I know what I saw, and it was a large black triangle so close to me, Colin, that if I'd had senses of me about me, I could have thrown a rock at the thing. Or you have.
So just sort of take a deep breath and tell me what you mean.
I will. I believe in you, and I don't know how else to turn to. I have two things. One is I was introduced to a nurse in Reno, and I spoke to her one evening, and she told me of a doctor that could help me, possibly help me, and she spoke to him that evening, and I remember this, that he did not want to speak to me over the phone, but he wanted me to call the following morning at his office.
What are we talking about here?
First was, okay, I'm sorry. The first one would be of someone who's worked for the government for over 10 years at Area 51.
You know somebody?
Wait till I finish the story. You're not going to believe
Okay,
what happened to me.
I'm trying to get the story.
I realize.
You know somebody who works at Area 51?
Well, I don't know him very well. I am trying to hide at this point.
Why?
And keep a low profile because I've had mental health and the police at my door, they were wanting to take me away.
Why?
Because of my experiences.
What experience? Hold it. Slow down. What experiences?
The video footage that I have and the memories that I have.
What do you?
That I've seen.
Hold it. Slow down. What video footage?
I have video footage of.
This person is terrible at telling a story.
Closed window, and they were not in solid form. And I need to get this to you. I need an address as well before we hang up. I need an address.
No, we do not. We're not accepting mail like that. Here's what you've got to do.
Oh.
You listen to me very carefully, all right? Find a friend who owns a computer.
Oh, yes.
That shouldn't be real hard.
No.
And most anybody who's even a good quarter of a geek, let's say, knows how to turn video into a video file very quickly.
All right.
And they can be sent to me that way at my email address, which is artbell@mindspring.com.
Yes.
Okay?
That one I know. Okay, no, that's what I will do then. I didn't realize.
That's the way you can do it.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I thought I could just send it in the mail.
All right, now you've had UFO experiences as well.
Oh, yes. Some of the video footage that I have, well, it's exciting, and you'll truly want to see it. And
okay.
So anyway, but some of the encounters and some of the memories I've had of being taken, like I say, I'm not in that case, and this is very real.
Are any of these sexual in nature?
No, they're not.
Okay, all right.
But what happened with the doctor, he told her that he did not want to speak to me on the phone.
That he wanted you to
So anyway, and knowing that he worked for Area 51 for over 10 years, I knew not to call him, Art. I knew it.
Then why did you call him?
Because it was a moment in my life that I wasn't in control.
All right, so I think I see where this is going. So in other words, you went to this doctor, and all this trouble with people coming after you came after that, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I've got
the
it.
things he told me.
Like what?
How that I was paranoid, delusional, psychosis that I was experiencing. But I said, no, wait a minute. You're telling me that, you don't believe? He goes, no, I believe. He says, but what you're seeing is of this world. He says, it's not real. It's not alien. And I'm going, wait a minute.
Did you mention the videotape evidence to him?
Yes, I did.
And what did he say?
He goes, well, what you're seeing. And I said, wait a minute. I have friends that have come over and watched these tapes. And, they know what they're seeing.
All right. Well, all right. Then here's the deal. Listen to me. Just please send the videotapes to me. And that will end that. What I will do is take what you send and I will post it on my website. If what you send is as you say, with somebody, for example, being dragged through a window in a half-formed state, then trust me when I tell you, we will have no problem believing you at all. And I guess she went to the wrong person. Going to a doctor who was up at Area 51 for that many years might not be the best thing for somebody to do. So you made a big mistake there. At any rate, send the evidence. Evidence is really good. Video evidence is, in fact, really, really good. I realize that anything can be faked these days. Nevertheless, video evidence, in my mind, is high on the scale. So get it to me. We'll get it out.
First time caller line, you're on the air. Hello? Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
I would like to tell you something that has happened to me about
Dear lady, I can't
quiet.
even hear you.
Oh.
Put your lips up to the phone and project. It happened to you 15 years ago. Where are you calling from?
Illinois.
All right, go ahead.
And I had been afraid to tell anybody because I didn't want to think I had gone to a loony tootie, you know?
Oh, you can tell me.
All right. I got prepared for bed, and I went to bed, and I woke up, and I was in something. You know, I didn't know what it was at that time.
A ship.
And they aren't the way that people say that they were mean and cruel to them, you know.
They?
Well...
You mean the little guys?
Well, they were small, but they didn't have those great big eyes. They had large eyes, but they weren't real big like that.
Not overly large. What did they do to you?
All right. They told me, they didn't open their mouth or anything, but they told me not to be afraid. And I said I wasn't. In fact, I was very peaceful. It was a very peaceful thing. You know?
Kind of like when a dentist says, this isn't going to hurt.
It didn't.
Good aliens.
They brought me to a table, and they pointed to it, and I went willingly and got up on the table. And
see, now why would you do that? I mean, you know that aliens do stuff to people who get on tables.
I had no fear.
All right.
I had no fear. It was very peaceful, and they were very kind to me, it seemed like. I can't recall too much of it, but I remember I sort of looked out of some kind of window, and I remember seeing, the stars, I guess they were, and I woke back up again in my bed, you know, and I thought, well, I couldn't even remember what I had dreamed about that night. Normally, I remember, you know.
So then what do you think they did?
Well, I remember I would put, when people would come in or somebody and I would go to greet somebody, or if I get uptight, I remember I used to put my legs very tight together and come stand erect, and I would keep my hands and my arms straight down to my body, but I would spread my hands out and sort of bow. And I remember my daughter saying, "Why are you doing that?" I said, "Doing what?" I had no recall of why I was doing it then.
So then,
whoops.
Because it
My
made
camera froze.
I recall that's the way that I greeted these
Just
people
a
on
moment.
the ship or wherever.
Oh, I see. All right, well, maybe that was it. Sort of like Spock's live long and prosper.
There we go.
Right. Abductee. Many people claim they have been abducted. I would not get on the table, though. It's like going to the dentist. When the dentist says this may pinch a little bit, that means this is going to hurt like hell. Prepare yourself. Nurse, hold him down. When they tell you it won't hurt at all, it's going to be moderate pain.
I was actually calling about a medical thing that happened to me that was quite interesting.
Okay, dentists say that too, by the way. All right, medical, what happened?
Well, I was having some shoulder pain.
This guy's obsessed with dentists.
And they were going to give me an MRI to check it out, see if I tore anything in my shoulder. And they asked me if I work with metal or anything before you do an MRI. And I said, yeah, I'm a pipe fitter welder. And they said, well, we'll have to do an X-ray first. So they X-ray up around my head, my shoulder area. And I said, oh, you have a piece of metal in your shoulder. I didn't think anything of it, and I said, well, maybe, you know, something gets under the skin. In my profession, you bump into sharp metal, could happen. So they said, well, we can't remove it. With people with this and, you know, this stuff, metal in their shoulder or something like that, we're going to send you to a bigger hospital up in Boston. So they do. And I go in there thinking they just got to pull a shot of metal out. You know, I'm thinking, is it a bigger operation or something? And, yeah, they just numbed up the area, and he pulls out this metal, and I take a look, and it's like a little shiny cylinder tube, like stainless steel. And I asked to look at it, and before I could, you know, the doctor just walked out of the room with it, and, you know, told the nurse to patch me up, which was basically a Band-Aid, and it wasn't really a much of a procedure. And then I asked him if I could see the piece of metal, and he said, "Oh, we already got rid of it." And it was. And then I go back. Then I go back to my local hospital, my local doctor. I go, "That really wasn't much." And one of the nurses there just said, "Yeah, whenever anyone has one of those little pieces of metal, we send them into the bigger hospital in Boston."
Why is it I'm thinking there's a hospital, you said Boston?
Yeah.
With a whole room full of jars that are filled up with things like what came out of you.
Yeah. So, and then miraculously, that thing comes out of my shoulder, and it's the side that I was having pain on, and they pulled that out, MRI'd me, found nothing wrong, and within a week, the pain that I was having in my shoulder's gone.
Wow. That's quite the story. I can't imagine. I guess in working in metal, something like that could happen, but...
Yeah, and I figured I've
not
pulled
looking
metal
like
out of
what you described.
I've pulled metal out of my hands, and it looks kind of nasty and dark. It gets discolored. You get a little shot or a sliver in there, and you know, it's like a big splinter. I pulled stuff like that out of my forearms, my hands.
Well, if they yanked a piece of metal out of me, I'd sure as hell want to see it.
Yeah, and I wanted to see it. And I saw them, you know, they had it in gauze, and they put it in their little plastic tray they had there, and I took a look at it. It was just probably about an inch long, maybe an eighth of an inch around.
You know what? They probably took it away from you before it started glowing.
Yeah, who knows? But they just pulled it out, and it was nice and shiny, like a little stainless steel cylinder, and I don't work with any metal like that. I'm like, well, there's no way something like that I could have bumped into, and I would have felt something like that go in my shoulder. I didn't remember it. You know, I'm like, that's not anything I've ever worked with.
Wow, that's a wild story.
They just threw it in the dish and walked away with it. And I said, "Hey, can I see that piece of metal?" And they were like, "Oh, we already got rid of it."
All right, thank you very much. No way. No way I'd so want to see it. In fact, not only would I want to see it, I'd want to keep it. I'd want it in my own little jar. Thinking the worst, I think of a room there in Boston full of little jars, full of little things like you just gave up.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hello.
Hey, how you doing, Art?
I'm okay, sir. Where are you?
North of the border.
North of the border with tasty Canadian.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Wanted to ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you ever come across any incidences where a child is believed to have been abducted, had an abduction experience, and experienced any hair loss as a result?
Only if they were dropped back to earth by their hair and it ripped.
Okay. No, I'm just wondering if it's because I haven't come across any in literature, and I have reason to believe that myself and my children have been involved in abduction situations.
Oh my God! Really?
Yeah.
And you all have hair loss?
No. She's the only one that has that.
She?
She's 10 years old. She's half bald on her top of her head.
Holy smokes!
And has been since about age 4 or 5.
Do all of you remember this abduction?
You know what? I don't remember all the details. I've woke up with the sleep paralysis kind of thing. Yeah, I'm positive somebody's there, but paralyzed so much that I'm blinded. I can't even open my eyes.
Well, then why do you think that she was abducted as well?
Well, because I was watching a TV program, and they had an artist depiction of a gray on the program.
Yes.
And my son, who was 3 at the time, and just enough to be able to talk properly, walked in, and he doesn't know anything about this stuff.
Well,
he walks in the room, sees the TV,
and
stops in front of it, stares, and says, "That's a bad man."
Oh.
And I said, "Who's a bad man?" I didn't even entertain him. I said, "Who's a bad man?"
Yeah, I understand. No, and
He
they're
points
showing
at the TV,
Yeah,
and
I
he says,
got you. I got you. So obviously you recognize the gray. Now, one thing to know about gray, when you look at grays, what do they need, sir? What do grays need?
What do they need?
Yes, what do they need? You said you saw a gray on TV. So I've seen lots of grays. What do they need?
I don't know what you mean.
What do they need? When you look at a gray and you consider a gray and you sit there and you
they
look
got
at
no hair.
There you go. They need hair.
Yeah. So
maybe they're trying to figure out how to get hair to grow.
I have no idea. Here's what my son said right after that, though, which convinced me that something happened to him.
Yes.
After he pointed at the man, said he was a bad man, he says, they always make me go with them. And I tell them I don't want to go. And the way he said it, he was mad. I tell them I don't want to go.
No.
That's how he said. And I was like, my wife saw, she watched a light in the sky that watched her for a good 10 minutes. She kept trying to wake me up. I kept insisting, no, let me sleep. It's a plane. The minute I got out of bed, it took off. I saw it leaving. But it took straight up.
How about your wife? She's an adult. Has she had any experiences?
Has what?
Has she had any experiences?
Beyond that she recalls, no. But I don't quiz her a whole lot about it because she's upset enough about my daughter. But here's what I keep thinking. I'm thinking, okay, you can lose hair due to exposure to radiation.
Correct.
But what powers these things? And then X-rays and all forms of radiation.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. I suppose you could assume that they're powered by some kind of radiation. That is quite an assumption. One would assume even a more complex, advanced drive system than radiation. Because, I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at, right?
Hi, Art. This is Mike from the Pacific Northwest.
Hello, Mike.
Hi. I think everybody needs to read Dr. Jacobs' book, The Threat. I really think that he has hit it on the head.
Well, that's right. I think that anybody who buys into this warm, fuzzy little creature thing is naive beyond reason.
Yeah, the altruistic thing of a total alien race that, according to his book, are using us. They're raping our women, impregnating them, taking the fetuses. That cannot be good. And the government is either powerless to stop them,
or in cooperation with them.
And I think that it's up to the citizens of this country to do what we can to dissuade these people. Either something primitive, like a homemade Fletchet rocket, unguided, with fins, sharp-pointed, armor-piercing, to get in there to that bismuth magnesium layers and short them out.
Going to sleep, Diedrich. All right.
Sure that shooting at them is the answer.
Well, how else?
Whether they're
Thanks for hanging.
Extra-dimensional,
Have a good night.
terrestrial, shooting at them.
Perhaps see you tomorrow.
Probably a poor bet.
Well, when you look at the Zulu tribes against the British,
perhaps
other tribes that took on a more powerful force, it was the very basic primitive technology that really worried that particular aggressor. When you look at the Afghanis against the Soviet Union or Vietnamese against us, we were terrified of punji sticks and everything else. It made us more leery, more cautious, made them, the Russians, more cautious. I think unless we do something, it's going to continue. I mean, what they're doing to our women and men in this country is unconscionable. We do need to get the word out. Obviously, people don't want to listen. Of course, how can it be illegal to shoot a rocket at a UFO? I mean, who's going to believe you?
Well,
it's not written anywhere. Don't shoot rockets at UFOs.
Well, the way things are going, I'm sure the Indian government will fire something off at one of them, and that'll be it for us. I appreciate the call, sir, but I don't know. Remember during Independence Day, they had to have signs up. Please do not shoot at the saucers. And what were people in L.A. doing? Boom, 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 shooting at the saucers. Actually, as it turned out, they might as well have. Because they only wanted to kill us anyway. But, before you know what their intentions are, shooting at them as, to start with, is probably not very well advised.
Good morning. Do you want to tell us roughly where you are?
In the Midwest.
You want to tell us exactly where you are?
In the Midwest.
All right.
Okay. Since I obtained this footage, I've gotten out of the military.
What footage? What are you talking
about? I was in the Air Force Reserves.
Yes.
Flew an A-10. We were based... I'm a little nervous, I'm sorry.
You flew Warthogs, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
A-10. Stationed out of Grissom Air Force Base in Indiana.
A-10s are basically tank killers, aren't they?
Correct.
Okay.
And we flew out of Grissom Air Force Base. They closed the base and they shipped us to New Orleans. And we were flying. Just happened. We were in Phoenix at the time of the UFO sighting over Phoenix.
Oh, you mean March 13th?
Yeah.
Oh, it was an incredible night. Something the size of nearly a city apparently hovered over the city of Phoenix.
Well, I got 25 minutes for my gun camera of that UFO sighting. If you send me a PO box or give me a PO box, I'll give you a copy of the film.
You wouldn't be yanking my chain, would you?
I wouldn't be calling you if I did.
I mean, you realize this is like offering candy to a child.
Nobody.
You've got 25 gun camera minutes of the object over Phoenix.
Correct.
Oh my God.
I mean, nobody's seen this video except myself and possibly you. If you give me a P.O. box.
I don't want it to go to a P.O. box. This is too sensitive.
Can we talk off the air?
I will arrange that, yes. Tell me, before I do that, though, just give me a little idea of what's on that film. In other words, what did your gun camera capture?
Pretty much all of it.
But I mean, describe what it saw, because a lot of people in Phoenix only saw lights.
They saw lights, but I saw what was above the lights and below the lights.
And what was that?
Something I've never seen.
A craft?
I would think so.
A solid craft of some kind?
Kind of a triangular, kind of rectangle kind of object.
That's what it was. That's how it was described from the ground, those who saw it.
That's what I saw.
And you would be willing to swear on the UCMJ. You know what that stands for, right?
No.
Uniform Code of Military Justice.
Yeah, but I'm out.
Well, I know. How did you manage to get the film? Can you tell me that?
I flipped on my gun camera.
Oh, no, I understand. But I mean,
I never told anybody I filmed it, and nobody ever really checked, let's say.
And so when...
Is Art Bell a little bit of a troll?
That film and do what?
I can't tell.
Well,
sometimes I think he is. Sometimes I think he actually believes all this stuff.
Yes.
And we were just flying that night just to be flying around.
All right. What I want you to do is stay on the line, and I'm going to put you on hold, and I'm going to do something I would not normally do, and I'm going to play a commercial, and during that time, I am going to give you a private address. All right?
Okay.
Don't move.
And Santa Monica actually is the exact area where you have been seeing, and more importantly, perhaps, from a proof point of view, videotaping UFO encounters. Is that correct?
That's correct. We have videotaped more than 40 daylight UFO sightings above our apartment and immediate neighborhood since June of last year.
Okay, that's a very, very populated area, so one would expect to see newspaper headlines about this sort of thing, or are they just barely visible to the naked eye?
Not at all barely visible. These are very visible objects, although perhaps half of them are just above where most people would look up as they're walking down the street, you know.
Yeah, they're quite high up. You'd have to really be, looking to the sky to spot a lot of the ones that we've seen.
A few thousand feet, perhaps at the most, but, most people going about their daily lives don't look up to see perhaps these things, at least at the height we've been seeing them. But we have had some that have been very noticeable in the sky. If anyone was out looking up, they would not have missed it. Including, now we've seen more than 8 different types of UFO.
That was my next question. What are you seeing?
Well, we're seeing all kinds of things. We have been witnessing spheres, for example, that appear almost on cue to certain things that we've been doing, holding stationary positions for up to 15 minutes. We've had a large opaque white worm-looking thing in the sky, or tubular object, very large. The one we filmed on the 9th, September 10th, looked more than 100 feet long. Imagine a large white maggot in the sky, a scallop-edged, round ball on each end, moving against the wind. And I filmed this for 30 minutes and filmed it clearly flying against the wind. You can see the palm trees all going in one direction, and this thing is going in the opposite direction. And after about 20 minutes of filming it, it dissolved down into a much smaller object, but with many bright spheres below it, which just popped on like stars in daytime, and then the whole lot flew away in formation, maintaining their formation at speed. So it was like, I'm calling this a UFO sphere container. We've now seen several of these, and they've been seen in Mexico, filmed as well, in Mexico and in further parts of the world. And oftentimes they are seen in conjunction with multiple spheres. And we've now filmed the apparent process of a long, white, opaque object that you can't see through becoming a UFO fleet, what is called a UFO fleet, and flying away. And we filmed this.
All right, it's hard to even know where to begin. Again, this is a very heavily heavily populated area, and there should be other eyewitnesses.
Oh, there have been. We've had people email us photos of very similar objects in a relatively similar area up to West LA and parts over toward the valley.
In fact,
Chatsworth.
The last time we were on Coast to Coast a few months ago, we actually mentioned this, and we received a very interesting email from a lady a few miles from us who witnessed the same object I just described. So there are definitely other witnesses. We haven't received, lots of mail confirming lots and lots of witnesses, but there must be, because as you said, this is a very populated area. In fact, it's the complete opposite to what I'm used to as a location for witnessing these type of events. And it's been very challenging to do these sky watches and to film these objects simply because we're right in the middle of a very built-up area, and nothing is, it's seen by everybody. We've had lots of people pull up, including the police, and ask us, what are we doing? But amazing things have been happening.
All right, you have, in order to appear tonight on Coast, you've put up a number of photographs on the website, a whole bunch of them. In fact, I think you've got several pages of them, don't you?
That's right, 1 to 4, and I know that we won't have time necessarily to go through all of these, but they're up there for people to see. A lot of the things we will be talking about can be looked at, give you an idea of what we are filming. Some of the stills, were shot off our television. We don't have access to high-end equipment and studios to give you the best of the best that could be extracted from our images. But what we've put up is the best that we can obtain, and it gives you an idea of what we're seeing.
Okay, you're using high 8 video equipment, is that correct?
Yes, it's an old camera, but it's a very good one, we're told by people who are expert with these cameras. It has a very good zoom. Some of these objects that we've filmed, even though they are close to us, i.e. less than a quarter of a mile away, 1,000 or a few thousand feet up, some of the objects have been at the limit of our camera's ability to get them in detail. I think this is a symptom of ufology.
It is, and let me tell you both. I've got a new video camera. Actually, I bought it about a year ago, so it's been out for a while now. It's a Sony high-definition camera, And there is so much difference between high definition and standard video that for a ufologist, it's really, really worth the investment. It's a couple $1,000. Yeah. But for high definition, and it's the real McCoy, real high definition, I would sure recommend that to you as a dream to have.
Yeah,
Sure.
that is on our wish list, right at the top of the wish list.
Exactly. If there's any entrepreneurs out there that can afford that, we would love it, because we have mentioned this to a number of producers around us who have cameras or have just obtained them, and we've said, look, we're getting all these sightings. We don't have the best of the best equipment, but so far no one has really come forward, except we did have a very interesting offer from MUFON, who asked us if we'd be interested in fixing a permanent camera, a website camera from our location, which I would love to say yes to, because there'd be nothing better than for everyone at home to log on, go online, look at our view, participate in the meditations we've been doing that have preceded many of these sightings, and take part in the meditation at home, and then look at the view we're watching and then see something.
I'm a retired Air Force SEAL grade
Meditations.
who has been one of the few fortunate ones to probably read all of the UFO reports that were available outside of Project Blue Book in a building in Washington, D.C. years ago called Tempo E.
Really?
It was an intelligence.
You've read all the secret stuff?
You got it. And I did tell this to one Air Force officer who I think is your MUFON director down in Florida, but I can't remember his name.
Yes.
And he got quite intrigued by it, and I'm trying to put some names together for him of those people that would be able to confirm that. And
Look. I got to cut through to quick here, and I've got to ask you, basically, what do you know that we don't? If you've really read these papers, sir.
No, these were reports.
Reports,
these are
all right, that's right.
Intelligence reports.
Okay, well, even better.
And they didn't deduce anything that said why or what they were. They just told what happened, where it happened, and when it happened, and copies were sent, that I recall, to the Defense Intelligence Agency. I don't remember if CIA or any other agency was a distribution for these.
Was there a conclusion?
There were no conclusions. No, they were strictly straight gathering of intelligence-type information.
Would somebody like yourself who read them come to a conclusion?
I came to the conclusion that there were many, many sightings that were never reported anyplace else except to this investigative intelligence agency, and then just filed, except what they were then subsequently transferred to DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency.
Yes.
And I'm not sure about the NSA or CIA because it's been too long ago that I've read them all, but there was a room with nothing but 5-drawer filing cabinets, and I had gotten special permission to go in and read them because I was in a special training situation, and I was just interested in the subject at the time. It wasn't until recently, till I moved out here in Nevada, that I've gotten more intrigued because of what we allegedly have out here in Area 51.
Did you sign?
On your show.
Yes. Did you sign a security statement?
Say again.
Again, I'll say, did you sign a security statement?
No, I was at the time holding the highest possible security clearance available in the Air Force at my level, which was an SSIR clearance, and it allowed me access to special intelligence.
Are you violating anything by telling us what you're telling us?
No, because I'm not telling you anything that most of the reports were secret.
Okay, that's why I asked you. A person reading them like yourself would conclude what? That we are being visited, that there are extraterrestrials, that the UFOs are really craft of some sort, built by some kind of intelligence. Would you conclude that?
I would conclude that, and I would also deduce that there are many, many, many visits and sightings that have never been reported anywhere except in this data bank of files. Now, whether they've been subsequently reduced to microfiche, destroyed, or what have you. I really don't know. I've never followed up on it myself. I've been told that other people have tried to get to these files but haven't had the right nomenclature or coding, and have been turned down by the Air Force because they said we don't have these files.
So filing a Freedom of Information Act, even if you knew you were going after, would be of no use.
No, they have filed apparently Freedom of Information Act with this agency asking for those reports. However, they've gotten back negative statements. They're not available. They're no longer available. They never were available. You don't have the right file number, the right case number, the right sequence number. And, of course, that's just a way of...
All right, let me try one more question. It's irresistible. You are familiar with the nomenclature?
Yes, and I reported that to that gentleman in Florida, and I'm trying to think of his name. But I think he's your...
It does not matter.
Director. But he's an Air Force type that was familiar with it and was going to search for a way to get access to these files, if they still exist.
All right, look, I can't spend any more time with this right now, but I would like you to contact me either by mail or fax.
Yeah, I'm going to fax you because I've had a hell of a time trying to reach you. It's just virtually impossible to get through any of the lines.
I know.
And I've just recently started to try this with you.
All right, fax me, and thank you. East of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. I wanted to tell you a story that happened to me in November of '99.
Yes, sir.
I was working as a deputy sheriff in a rural county just north of Corpus Christi, Texas.
Ah.
And I got this about 4 o'clock in the morning, and I got called to the office to sign some reports that a supervisor had approved.
Yes, sir.
And I took Highway 796 out of Tynan back towards Sinton. It's a very dark, desolate area bordered on both sides by the Anderson Ranch. No lights, no nothing.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm coming up to the back gate of the Anderson Ranch, it's kind of about a 40-mile-an-hour curve, and I drove the road most of my life, and I'm doing about, 75, 80. And in the middle of the road was a bright, luminous, have you ever seen a chem light? Like a marker light?
Oh, yes, sure.
It's about the size of a basketball, glowing in the road.
Just on the road or above the road?
No, hovering kind of in the headlights.
Hovering.
I slammed on the brakes and just looked at this thing and had no clue what to do, and it disappeared. Just no shot off into space, no nothing, just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there wondering, what to do, or, not knowing what to do. And I start to accelerate, and I'm driving below the speed limit around this curve. And as I get around the curve, you can't see it. But as my lights come around, there's a herd of cattle in the road. And they're all black Angus. And had this thing not been there,
you'd have been in a collision.
I'd have been seriously injured or dead. I was just wondering if you ever heard anything like that.
Yes, I have. What do you think? What do you think that was? I mean, if you were forced to guess now, with all these years of reflection, what do you think that was? What do you think it might have been?
A light in the middle of the road. I have no clue.
But you must have thought some about it, huh? I mean, it warned you, didn't it?
Well, basically, I thought it had to be something warning me that, we deal with loose livestock all the time, and I mean, I've worked plenty of accidents where people hit cows in the middle of the night, and
but if you had hit a bunch of black Angus going 75 miles an hour, they and you would be dead.
Of course.
Yeah. So, what happened to you was something very significant. Something warned you.
But what?
Did you write it up?
No, of course not. I had told of one person, my ex-wife.
Yeah, well, good move.
I mean, I'm not going to tell a supervisor that. I didn't even want to tell you my name here, I mean, it's nuts.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really appreciate the call, sir. Look, all I can say is that is the heart of what this program is about. It's about things we do not understand. And what you just heard, obviously, was a very true story.
So we are here to explore that which is not explored elsewhere. And that was at the very core of what we do here. What warned him? We talk of guardian angels, we talk of dimensions, we talk of ghosts, we talk of so many things here on this program, but something warned him. That was a real call. You could tell it was real. So that's what we're here for. That's why we're here.
The first one I which was the most up close and real. It was only maybe 100 yards away from us. I say us because once I pulled in the driveway with the keyboard player, I was the bossman at the time, and the keyboard player, Warren Keith, who ended up playing piano for Hank Williams Jr., he was driving his Cadillac. We pulled in at my folks' house to stop over and sleep until, it was like 3 o'clock in the morning when we got there. We were going to get up and go the rest of the way in the morning. So I go up and I'm crawling through the window because we had an old farmhouse and the skeleton keys were gone, and we just locked the screen door. And my mother would leave a sliding window unlocked. I'd slide it open, crawl through, and I'm about halfway in, halfway out, and I hear Warren give this war whoop out in the driveway, and I just bust my ass. I jump off the porch and run out there, and he dropped his satchel alongside of him, and he's just standing there looking off into the field across the street. And I ran past the shadow of the corner of the house because it was like a full moon lit night. And as soon as I broke into the moonlight, I looked over there, and here is this flying saucer. And I mean, this thing had to be 200 feet in diameter. It was huge. It was like a haze. It had some lights, little tiny lights twinkling around the middle of it, kind of like if the sun hits a woman's diamond, how it throws the facets, throw the colored light.
You could make out the solid shape of a disc.
Yes, and I dove through the window on my way back into the house, hollering to the top of my lungs, "Get out of bed! Get out!" And I ran in, and my mom and stepdad were like trying to, rub it off. What's going on? I said, "Get out on the porch out front now." And so all my brothers and sisters, my mom and stepdad, get out on the front porch, and here this thing is, still sitting there, not making a sound, not making emotion or anything, just, and it was almost like, dang, is this thing real? Is that being projected into the atmosphere? What is this, And
we were all in awe, standing there, and I didn't think of, taking a picture or whatever. I'm just thinking, what the hell is going on here?
Yes, of course.
It's that close.
Of course.
And then we all looked at each other because we felt our guts start to quiver. I felt a low frequency, and I didn't realize what it was until it became audible. It was sub-hearing when at first we felt it, because it was shaking our bodies. And then as it became audible and raised in pitch, it went boom and got to a real high pitch, and then just went shot right across the sky. I mean, faster than your imagination.
Now, that's a really close encounter. That's a really close encounter.
Oh, buddy.
Any effects from it? After effects, other than shock?
Well, it caused a lot of questions.
I bet.
Like, where the hell did that come from? And who was in it? And I don't think it has any, varying effect on what I believe as far as the unconditional love of God. I just am, because that's my creator, and my mother's side, I'm Cherokee Indian. In fact, I was given the Cherokee Medal of Honor last year, and it's the creator, and we refer to him within the Cherokee, the Cherokee Nation, and the creator created that. I don't know what for. I don't have the answers, buddy.
Do you think that what you saw was not of this earth? I'm sure that you've turned that over in your mind enough times.
Yes, I considered whether it was or wasn't, and in order for somebody to survive that kind of takeoff, I mean, I don't even know of a G-suit that would keep you from, just
turning into a pancake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that kind of an experience, if you think they're not of this earth, that would change a lot of things. Or actually, we go around about this all the time on this program. Spirituality and religion versus the possibility that what if we were put here by them?
And you're keeping track of it?
Yeah. That's one thought. Yes.
Yeah. That's it's all speculation, of course, but after seeing that, and let me tell you just one little addition to that, Art, because my cousin who lived in the neighboring town had a water business, so water softeners, water distillers, water purifiers, and he was into it. I was out seeing him, and I was telling him, this is the first time I'd ever told anybody about this, because my mother told us if we had ever said anything to anybody that she was going to kill us, because back then, in 1968, of course, it was all the swamp gas and the weather balloons and all these things that people said were UFOs. And they came off as kooks in the paper, and she didn't want to be a kook or any of us to be labeled as kooks.
A lot of people understand that, believe me.
Yes. She said, just keep it to yourself. So anyways, I was out at my cousin's, and I'm telling him about this sighting. And as I'm telling him, the door to his office is open. His secretary walks around the corner. She's crying. She says, Mr. Hall, I don't mean to bother you, but can I come in here right now? And he's going, what's going on, Kathy? Well, then she told the story because she'd heard me telling my cousin, Don, and she actually lived a quarter mile down the crossroad, which was only a quarter mile away from where I was at, saw the same night, the same year, and when it took off, it went to the east, which would have been over the top of her house, and that's the way it took off. And then she asked me, what does this mean? Here this girl is, I'd never, shared this with anybody, and she just happens to be there and just happened to live a quarter of a mile,
What did you tell her? Do you recall?
Well, I told her, because she was crying, she was just losing it, and she thought, it had something to do with God, and I just calmed her down. I said, I don't think it has anything to do with, or supposed to. She says, well, what is this supposed to mean? What do we do with it? I said, sit on. I don't know. You don't try to, manufacture something within yourself. Let's just go on what is, and what is the next thing that happens, in the next second.
I mean, a million things could run through your head. Seeing something as close as you did, you could think we were being invaded. You could think a million different things could go through your mind. How much, from where you were standing when you saw this disc, how big would you describe the disc? And by that I mean, like, we all know how big a full moon looks up in the sky, right? We know how big certain things look. So how big was it to you?
It appeared to be about 200 feet in diameter.
Filling up how much of the sky?
Oh, it was huge. Because it was only 100 yards away from us. I mean, it was just over across the street in the field, and the full moon had it just illuminated. And like I said, it had this haze around it. Oh, and one thing, when it took off, Art, the haze that was surrounding this saucer stayed in the shape of a smoke ring. It was like a haze ring, but it was a billowing. It was just kept rolling and rolling and rolling.
That also makes sense, though. I can see it just blasted up through it, so it would have left like a smoke ring.
Yeah, and in the morning when I got up, which was, real early because I was still excited about seeing this thing, I look out the window and I'm looking. I know I'm not going to see it, but I'm looking for any kind of trace. And, man, that smoke ring was still there, about maybe 10 times larger than it was when it started, but still rolling.
Wildcard line, you're on the air. Hi. That would be me.
How are you, sir?
Quite well. And what is your...
to you. My name is Pat, and I'm calling from New York City.
All right, Pat.
From WABC 77.
Of course.
And I'd like to share an experience. Maybe your listeners might have some sort of an answer for me. I had an encounter August 18th.
Pat, you're going to have to speak up good and loud for me, okay?
And,
Pat?
Yes?
Speak up good and loud, because you're real soft.
Sorry.
That's all right. Just do the...
I had an experience August 18th, 1988. I was going to get some cough medicine for my child at about 10 o'clock at night. I discovered that I didn't have any more, and he had a cold. I had gone downstairs, and I went outside, and I noticed that there was a mist. Well, for some reason or another, while observing the mist, I happened to look up, and I saw something that is, to this day, the most beautiful thing that I've ever seen in my life.
This is in the middle of New York City, Pat?
Yes.
Okay.
And so I attempted to walk across the street. Now, I live in an area where there's a 4-lane area, traffic going in 4 different directions.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, I was so enamored by what I was looking at, I attempted to cross the street, and I felt a car go past me very quickly. At that point, I attempted to walk across, and I'm still looking at this thing, and what I see is a huge craft, but it was shaped sort of like black diamonds, because it's in the evening, and I'm looking at this thing, and I'm so enamored with it, and I attempt to turn around to say to someone, "Do you see this?" And what I noticed was there was no people on the street, no more traffic, and I was just stunned. But I was just so enamored by what I was looking at. At one point, I started to wish that someone else could see it. But as far as I could...
Pat, I want you to hold on, all right?
Sure.
Pat, welcome back.
Hi.
Hi.
Anyway, I'm going to pick it up from where we were. I remember wishing that someone else could see what I was seeing.
Of course.
There. And at one point, I became a little nervous because I couldn't understand why I couldn't see any people and I didn't see any cars. We're talking about a 4-lane traffic flow that just instantaneously disappeared. I remember at one point looking across the street, and there was one gentleman standing there. I ran across the street to this gentleman, and I said to him, "Do you see this? Do you see this?" And he was very calm. He said to me, "Do you see it?" He said, "Do you like what you see?" And I said, "It's beautiful." I said, "What is it?" He said, "Well, maybe it's your moon." And I looked at him and I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "There is no moon that comes down so low that it hovers over the top of a building." I said, "Surely." He says, "Well, maybe where we come from." And I looked at him. And he reached over and he touched my right hand. And he said to me, "If it feels good to you, go with it." And I remember looking at him, and I was thinking, wait a minute, this guy is a little strange. And I noticed that his features were very, very sharp. His skin was almost pale, sort of with a silvery overtone. And I said to him, Guy, you've got to be kidding me. I said, you mean to tell me you think this is a moon? I said, I don't know where you're coming from with this. I said, but somebody else has got to see this. I shot across the street, and I ran into a little store there because I remember I had come out to get some cough medicine for my child.
Yes.
And I run into the store, and I'm frantic, and I'm trying to get somebody to come outside with me just so that they could look up and see this that I'm looking at.
And let me guess, they wouldn't.
Actually, they were trying to contain me. I guess I was so excited. I guess I was so excited by this that they were immediately just trying to get me to calm down.
Well, this is pretty unusual because most of these things, occur in the deserts of Nevada and the empty wheat fields of Kansas. But, I mean, here you are in the middle of New York City, for goodness sakes.
Absolutely. This is why to this day, I don't really quite understand, as I tell you from the depth of my being that this is something that I experienced. I don't know what to make of it.
I believe you.
But it stays with me forever from that point. And what I did was I said to the guy behind the counter, please, just come with me outside. Just come with me outside and look up. And he said, first, I just want you to calm down. He said, what is it that has you so excited? I said, please, if you just come out with me, you'll see. Well, when I finally got this gentleman to come outside with me, lo and behold, Art, there was traffic, there was people.
The world was back.
Everything was back. I just was absolutely flushed with embarrassment. So much so that I forgot to get the cough medicine. I go back home, and my child says to me, where have you been?
Yes, well.
And I said, well, I was only gone for a few minutes. He said, no, you've been gone for 3 hours.
Oh, my God.
Ask me what happened? I don't know. Maybe you guys can sort of enlighten me. Maybe someone has had a similar experience. I just know for myself that I will never forget that.
Well, if you want another big experience, I have a suggestion for you.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't afraid.
I'm talking about an experience. One that's going to help you out with this. Now, listen to me. What I want you to do is consider going to somebody for regressive hypnosis. You can recover those 3 hours. You may not want to know, but if you do want to know, it's possible.
Ooh, I don't know if I have that kind of heart. I really don't. I mean, I wasn't afraid at the time that I was experiencing it. Actually, again, it was the closest thing that I could explain what it looked like. Have you ever seen black, shiny rock with sparkles in it?
I guess I have.
Well, it was very similar to that, but you have to understand that it covered, I'm not good with numbers or width or depth or anything of that sort, but it covered 4 lanes of traffic and over both sides of buildings on the opposite side of the street. That's how huge this thing was. And it was just so beautiful till I couldn't take my eyes off of it. And it seemed the more that I looked at it, the more that it appeared to come down so that I could look at it closer. And I was trying to rationalize in my mind that, okay, well, maybe it's a blimp. Maybe it's something from the stadium, because this is, it occurred where we have the courthouses in the Bronx.
Yes.
So to me, I'm thinking, well, maybe that's what it is. But there was no game going on.
Yeah, that's what the human mind tries to do. It tries to make sense of what it sees, even if it's impossible. No, I sure do appreciate your call. It's right in line with what we've been getting this morning, these calls after calls after calls, from people who are obviously telling the truth. That lady was obviously telling the truth. That's all there is to it. Now, you don't frequently get stories like that, not from the middle of the Bronx in New York, no. But she sounded totally lucid to me, and I absolutely think she believes what she just told us. I believe it. So it's up to you out there of what to make of it, I guess. West of the Rockies, you're on the air. Hi.
How are you doing this evening, Art?
Quite well, sir.
Blessing to you and Happy New Year to you and your wife, Ramona.
Thank you. Same to you.
Mine is also about alien contact.
Oh.
But it's more extensive than your previous callers because I've had these contacts since I was 5 years old. I'm now 59. raised and born in Los Angeles. I have a top secret clearance with the U.S. government through the Army in the field of cryptography, which I acquired in 68 through 70. And I spent my tour of duty in South Korea, 7th Division in Camp Casey, and that's where I was informed by a lieutenant colonel that the U.S. government has knowledge of these contacts because I was told that I had a red file on myself.
All right, let's slow down.
Okay.
Who informed you that the U.S. government had official contact?
There was a lieutenant colonel that was active in the 7th Division during the period of 69-70 when I was on tour there.
Under what circumstances would he tell you something like that? I mean,
well, there was a situation that was going on at that time in South Korea that many of the Americans that were at Camp David was aware of. There was a high racial tension at that particular time because of what was happening in the United States.
Right.
And I was involved with a particular group of people that was involved in various investigations. The long story short was that this gentleman who had contacted me very secretly had informed me that there were individuals on the base at the time that felt that my knowledge of certain things was injurious to them, that I was in danger. He informed me that the U.S. government was not going to allow anything to happen to me because I had a red file on me. That's the first time that I ever had access to that kind of information. What he did to confirm and verify that he was valid, there were things that he told me in a 2-hour secret meeting that occurred within the livelihoods and the life of my family members that only could have been known by just family members. It's almost as if there was a taping device in the house or on the phone.
They knew things.
Oh, yeah. Very, very, very.
Okay, we don't have a lot of time, so you got to get bottom
now,
line.
What transpired after that is that he informed me that they knew that I had had contact for a very long time in my life. I'm going to go beyond that. I'm just giving you information to verify that you're talking to someone who's actually had it. I ran for mayor of Gardena in Los Angeles in 2001, and people can look on the internet.
Find out who you are by that means. Okay, so...
Exactly. Okay, now, what I want to tell you is this, is that I've had contact with several different species, energy forms, humanoid forms, bipedals that are not human-looking.
Okay, if you've had all this contact, then I ask you the standard questions. Do you have any idea what their motives are?
I do.
Why they're... Okay, good. Go ahead. I want to know. What?
Okay, number one is that 99.9% of those that are now visiting the Earth are not hostile. They are here because the Earth is in a great, difficult time. The shield of the Earth is starting to disintegrate. They're in the process of trying to rejuvenate that. But beyond that, these species have told me that mankind is about to annihilate itself in nuclear war. That biogenetic experimentation has been initiated so that there would be a preservation of the human consciousness and the genes.
Oh, my God.
Mixed with alien life forms that would exist elsewhere.
So, in other words, we're about to blow ourselves to smithereens. They're taking samples of us to ensure that some humanity is...
That's correct.
Saved, like so many endangered species.
That's correct.
Oh, my God.
And the you know, everybody makes the joke about the little green men that come from Mars.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they exist, but they don't come from Mars. They're about 3 feet tall.
Uh-huh.
I am not the only one on the planet. As a matter of fact, there are many of your listeners that will call in and verify this, that they are one of the major entities at the moment initiating biogenetic experimentation, and I was shown a female hybrid human mixed with their particular alien DNA. This female was about 13 or 14 years old. She was about 4 feet high. She had the power of levitation. She had pure white hair. That made it strange. Green epidermis, pure white hair, pure white teeth. But she had the physiognomy of one of my daughters. And very, very beautiful, highly intelligent, and very telepathic. Mankind is being visited by our brothers and sisters that want to help us. Also, what I need to tell you, which is very dire. I was shown in this craft with these smaller green entities a very large screen. It looked like a movie screen. I was shown Los Angeles, New York, and Washington being struck by nuclear weapons. I also was shown an asteroid that was going to hit the Earth. It was going to come across the United States at nighttime from east to west. A large portion falls off somewhere near Wyoming, and the largest portion falls off just east of the big island of Hawaii, which will cause a tidal wave at night several miles high, striking and destroying the San Francisco Bay Area. And all that was left is when the water receded was the northern portion of the Golden Gate Bridge.
God.
Yeah.
You've given us an awful lot to chew on.
I was also to tell you this. You are, this year, 2005, you and your wife, there's this evolvement that you have made in the last few years. You are now spiritually on the level for contact.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, Art. I don't know where to begin other than
at the beginning, sir.
Pardon?
At the beginning.
Okay. I live in San Francisco and in the inner city, and it drives me crazy. And to get away from it all and to meditate, I like to go at the beach at night and look at the stars.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of weeks ago on a Saturday night, I went. It was just turning dusk, and I have a certain method of signaling. I says I'm going to make contact somehow tonight. I don't know how.
Wait a minute. You're out there trying to contact extraterrestrials.
Right. And I have my own unique method. I am not going to reveal to coast land because I don't want your vast audience to be aping my own special way of getting in touch with the space brethren.
Well, darn.
Okay, so the first night I used my signaling method. Overhead came, just as dusk came, a huge circular craft, massive in size, hovered silently above my head for about 3 minutes, then moved landbound. I stayed on the beach, kept signaling, nothing. As darkness fell, a very strange thing, I'm flashing my light on the shoreline. I saw...
you just told us. So it's a flashing light you're using.
God, am I stupid.
Huh.
God, I just...
Well, that's not new. I mean, look, there are a number of... really are a number of organizations that try to make contact using a flashing light. Dr. Greer's organization, for example. So
all right.
no
The
big
cat's
deal.
out of the bag. At any rate.
All right.
So I'm flashing my light on the beach. I see a penguin, an Arctic penguin in San Francisco. I thought it was a shorebird with a broken wing. I look at it. It's a penguin. It swims out to the water like a penguin does and does its penguin thing. I said, wow. Okay, so that's two very strange anomalies in one night.
Why would you imagine an Arctic penguin would be there?
I've talked to friends. They said maybe it escaped from the zoo, or maybe it's Earth changes, like that guy wrote about. What was it called? That coming global superstorm. You know that guy with the other guy?
That guy with the other guy, yeah. Sure.
Right. At any rate.
Yep.
So I come home and try to digest because I wasn't sleeping well. I go down to the beach to get the salt air to relax, you know.
Yes.
So I figure I'll try to get a couple hours sleep, come back the next night. Next night, okay, beautiful, go down there at dusk, beautiful sunset on the beach. Start my signaling process.
I hope, by the way, you were using a C-Crane LED light.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to pay $80 for a flashlight. At any rate, no, it's a great. They have great products. I just am on a budget.
All right, so here you are, signaling
so here I
again.
am on the beach. Okay, very busy beach day on a Sunday. Everybody's there. I says, well, you know, I got to get far and away from people if I'm going to make contact.
Right.
Maybe they'll take me away to a better world. Who knows? because I knew there was something benevolent about a circle. You know, life is a circle. Circular shaped craft, this has got to be good. So I'm signaling. 5 minutes. There it is, okay?
What?
What
is?
I see the pattern of lights, okay?
Okay.
It's circular.
Yes.
All right? Now, don't ask me how, but I know I'm in telepathic contact. And ever since this has happened, I've had,
all right, well,
I know
it's very important to understand. Hold it, sir. What
Mm-hmm.
did they tell you if you were in contact? What
did they tell me?
That's right.
Well, I had to make it down to the beach, way, way far away, about 4 miles towards Pacifica Daly City, to get far away from people. So I'm walking, exhausted. I took a nap, right? There were 3 crafts, following me, and I knew I was going to make contact. So,
All right.
just waited.
In the interest of time, try and answer my question. What did they tell you?
Okay. All right. I'll cut right to the chase.
Good.
When I woke up, came back, they were there, fires, signaling. Okay. They were speaking in a language that I didn't know, but I understood.
All right, fine.
Which was come with us, come along with us, be with us. And I was very, very, very scared.
Why? I mean, this is what you wanted.
Because I fully saw their craft. It was huge, triangular, red, glowing like the sun. 3.
But you went down there for this reason. You wanted contacts, and now you've got it. Now you're scared.
This was not the being I saw. This was not the ship that I saw the night before. This was triangular. The night before it was circular. You understand? Okay. Now a triangle. That means yield. A circle is life. I firmly know and believe this. We are being visited by multitudes of races. They are very interested in the goings on of Earth.
So why
some are good?
Why didn't you go?
Why didn't I go?
Yes.
Because I got the impression that these beings were not benevolent at all, that they were malignant, and that they wanted to use me for some kind of like what Whitley went through, or some kind of Island of Dr. Moreau type of a human experimental animal thing, or God knows what else.
Oh,
and
you felt you would have been probably you felt you might have been cut up, mutilated, and otherwise spindled.
Exactly. But I know deep in my heart that there are good benevolent races out there which I will make contact with, which I will go with. But
well, the truth of the matter, sir, is when you flash that flashlight, you don't know what's going to come.
No, but I know how to identify them, and I know I have perception and intuition.
So you think that the guys in the triangular craft are not our friends?
Guys and gals.
Well, okay,
guys and gals.
And the ones
make that clear, because
but the ones
in the contact was with a woman.
Wait a minute, oh really?
Yes, really.
A woman?
She was very Zoptic, shapely, like a bombshell figure. It was at night, but I could make out her figure, and she was wearing a gown like a Stevie Nicks kind of robe-ish gown. She had dark hair, long hair, but I could not see her face. She was flashing a light like what was on the ship.
So you somehow have even resisted the Stevie Nicks of extraterrestrials and walked away from it, right?
All right. I was running along silently on the beach because I knew that I did not want to embark on this. And all they heard were my keys dangling.
Well,
I had the flashlight.
How do I know you weren't chasing Stevie?
Pardon?
How do I know you weren't chasing Stevie down the beach?
It wasn't Stevie that was on my mind. It was a different woman who, from way back when, I've been carrying a torch for, who fits that description.
Well, listen, I'm afraid this torch has got to go out.
Wildcard line, Joe in Houston. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the disclosure. Back in the mid-'70s, I was assigned as a squadron commander in the MAGIC program. And as such, I felt that it was important that I read through the regulations that pertain to the area that I was involved in. And the first manual that I read was called Air Force Manual 1-1. Okay, so you start at the beginning. And then you find out that there's a classified section that's not
Still a ways to go.
available. And in the classified section of Air Force Manual 1-1 is a complete checklist of how you deal with extraterrestrial biological entities.
Well, let's back up for a second. You were a squadron commander in the Air Force, but you say you worked for Magic?
Well, I was a squadron commander in the Air Force, but yet I was dealing with programs that were not necessarily Air Force programs.
So how did you know you worked for Magic? Did you have a badge? Did you get read into a program? Or
I had to sign all the secrecy agreements. I had to go through secret, or well above secret security procedures. I had to waive all my constitutional rights.
Well, why are you confident speaking about it now, then?
I'm old. What are they going to do to me?
Huh.
You know, there's nothing they're going to do to me.
anyway, we can verify what you're saying, Joe, now.
Well, as a matter of fact, I signed a hand receipt for one of the pieces of equipment that flew around, and on the bottom of it was the bill for it was $4.3 billion. That's what it was worth back in those days. I don't have any idea what it's worth today. After I signed in at my station where I was assigned, I had 2 secret supply accounts, and the base CIA rep called and said, "I see you've signed into your accounts. I need to talk to you." And so I went down and talked to him in his office, and he explained, if you can't get the money that you need for the things that you're doing to buy the equipment that you need, give me a call, and I'll have the money in your account, in one of your accounts the next morning. And I said, is there any limit on how much I can get? And the answer was technically no.
I'll go back to my question. How do we know that you're telling us a story that we can verify? I mean, is there anybody else that you worked with, that you stayed in contact with? Is there any documentation you have that says you worked for Magic instead of the Air Force? Not saying we don't believe you, just that kind of question comes with the territory.
I don't want them to come shoot me tomorrow.
Okay.
I can give you names if you want to have your screener get my number and whatever. I can give you names off the air, etc. That's not any big issue.
Okay.
So anyway, I was talking with this CIA representative, and he said, no, there's no limit to the amount. There's technically no limit that's placed on the amount that you can get in each of your accounts per day. But he said, realistically, probably not more than about 125 million per day per account.
Per day?
Per day.
What was the piece of
equipment? I don't know what to make of any of this.
What was the piece of equipment, Joe?
I'd rather not talk about it.
All right, I'll tell you what. Why don't we get Gina to write down your contact info, and I'll get a hold of you, and we'll take it from there. Oh, okay. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Hey, hello there, Art. It's been a long time I've been listening to you. You probably gave me some of the happiest moments of my life while I was driving my truck.
Good. It certainly whiles away the miles, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does. I remember the night you glued your lips together. Oh, my goodness. About fell out the window.
Don't remind me.
I got a little story to tell you. I got a house there in Camotes, Philippines. It's outside of Cebu City, about 40 miles out in the water. And I went there I live in Indiana, but I had to go there for a business trip. And while I was there, the typhoon come rolling through. This was in October. So I stayed at my house, 4 or 5 days of nothing but rain. And I had brought with me 4 telescopes. And because with no street lights there, it's beautiful. No.
Well, it is, but there's an awful lot of humidity here. That's the other factor that somewhat limits the night sky. The humidity here is always in the 90s, very close to 100%.
Right. Well, you'll have to come down and check out the island there. It's a lot better. The humidity isn't as bad down there once you get away from the other side of the island there.
I see.
And but I was going to tell you about my... so I'm stuck there at the house in the rain and the typhoon. You know how that is. And about 1:30 in the morning, everything was quiet. So I jumped out of bed and I said, I'm going to look outside and see if I can see some stars. And lo and behold, there were 3 small UFOs and 1 large UFO out over the water.
Why would you have an expectation to have a good star viewing situation while it's raining and a typhoon is around?
Well, it got quiet. I'd been reading my book, and so this is like 1:30 in the morning, so I done reading the book, and I figure I'm going to look out there and see if the clouds had cleared up because it quit raining.
I see.
And it had cleared up, and but to my amazement, 3 of these small UFOs were playing tag out there over the water. It was just amazing. So I'm hollering for my wife to bring me my glasses so I can see better. And all she's worried about is getting me my pants because I'm standing on the front porch hollering about these UFOs.
Yes, well, I'd want my glasses first, too, provided I wasn't here in Manila. Now, I suppose on an island off Cebu, you can do that, but it wouldn't be advised here in Manila.
Right. So we got to watch them for about 20 minutes. The big orange one, though, once we were standing there watching them for about 5 minutes, the big orange one moved down and kind of hid itself through the trees. Hid behind the trees.
Oh, so it actually virtually landed almost.
Yes, I'd say maybe it was 50, 100 foot off the...
And how long ago was all of this?
October this year.
You told me. That's right. So what did they eventually do? Just all take off, or was there some encounter beyond that?
Well, no other encounter. They played out there for about 20 minutes. The 3 little ones, they'd go to come into one, and then they'd split off, and they do their 90-degree angle turns and shooting around out there. And the big one, he just sat out there, didn't do anything but sit. And so I went through the rest of the house trying to get everybody else that they lived on the island there. I tried to get them to get up and see these UFOs. Nobody didn't even get out of bed because they said it happens all the time. The fishermen see that all the time, so they weren't even interested in getting up and seeing it.
Isn't that something?
So while I'm trying to... Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. So eventually what happened?
Well, eventually they flew away.
They flew away. Okay, well, there you've got it. That's a report from here in the Philippines. Here in Manila, because, of course, it's a very large city. I think we're a city of 11 million, 15 million. I don't know, a lot of people here. The air is, as you would imagine, in a city for the most part, and there's a great deal of humidity, so rarely do you get to see but 1 or 2 stars and, of course, the moon. Now, when you get out of the city, you get into the mountainous areas here in the Philippines or down, for example, into the area off Cebu, as he mentioned, you might have very clear skies, save the humidity factor. They're everywhere, aren't they?
Hi, I'm George Norrie, and welcome to our favorite guests.
Alright, everyone. I think it's time to call it an end to the stream. As I start applying some more dots. But, yeah. Made some good progress today, I think. Still quite a bit of surface area to cover, though. Already said at this stream, I'm dreading this area. Yeah. All right, everyone. Have a good night, day, whatever time zone time it happens to be, wherever you are. I'll see you tomorrow, perhaps.
I know we are in the stippling food, but you don't have to put your balls in my face.
God damn it, Tarkus. You appear now. You appear now. At the end of the stream, Darkest. At the very end. Well, now I think I just have to spite you and stream for another 3 hours. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going.
Stippling?
No, not really. It's time to get out of here. Nice to see you for the brief moment, Darkest. And I'll be back tomorrow. Where you'll probably do the same thing again. Show up late to the party, Darkest.
Yeah.
All right. I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Actually, maybe I'll actually participate in Twitch and raid into someone. Let's see. Boo, 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 boo. I'm gonna send you to Alan and Bill the Duck. Yeah, have fun. See ya.